So what's going on this week?
Hello,
Well,
welcome to our show.
Yes,
welcome to the show.
welcome. Welcome to Let's Get Serious,
Oh,
where
an intimate experience with Flav.
Ooh,
An intimate evening.
we
nice.
Intimate
discuss
evening.
everything from topics of the day to a little bit of fun with karaoke and trivia, a little bit of script reading, and maybe even some salacious tales from the world of pop culture featuring
That's right.
EMZ.
That's right. Because we know what's popular.
That's right.
Well,
If we don't, Emily does.
if
That's
you don't
right.
know what's
That's
popular, I do.
That's right.
All right, jeez.
I'm kidding.
Uh,
I'm saying that.
It's a rough crowd, Sam. It's a rough crowd.
I
I'm
know.
saying that. You know why I'm saying that? Because I spend my life around teenagers
Yes,
as a profession,
professionally, yes.
professionally for anyone who's concerned.
Well, that could be taken the wrong way as well, but I think we get what you mean.
Well, you
Mhm.
do, but other people might not.
I mean, yes. Oh, excuse me.
Transparency is important.
Yeah, it is. And I work with, and I spend my life around kids ages 0 to 21. So,
Maybe some of the same kids.
probably not because I work in Brooklyn.
Yeah, but some of my
So-
kids live in Brooklyn.
All right, then yes, then maybe, yeah, I'm sure it has overlapped every once in a while. I'm sure it has, yeah.
What do you teach, Sam?
Oh, I'm not a teacher. I work in family court.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So, and that's all I won't say
No,
anything.
please,
past that.
please. So spare it. There's
Yeah.
no need.
I can't for many reasons.
Well,
Yeah.
for confidentiality reasons.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Must not be easy, though. Not an easy job, Sam.
No, it's not. No, it's not an easy job. But it is rewarding, and
Sure.
I do feel like at the end of the
Hi, Scarlett.
apparently Scarlett thinks so too, and at the end of the day,
That bird always got an opinion.
yes, she does. And apparently at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I feel like
Accomplished.
I do. I feel I can sleep easy at night because I know like I'm making a difference in the lives of these kids. So
Absolutely.
that's, so whatever small, and even just being dragged through the system is, it's very
horrendous.
demoralizing. It's demoralizing. So
Yeah.
any small thing I can do to make their lives better at any time, I hold on to that and just keep using that as fuel to keep moving forward and make positive difference in their lives as much as I can. So
But you know what's
Absolutely.
you know what I love too that's so interesting? And I think this is something that just goes to prove the old things are not always as they appear adage. But
mhm.
some of my favorite students are the ones with the longest criminal records.
We got more
Well, yeah,
stories.
because they have the most stories.
Well,
I don't
That's
care
interesting.
about the stories. They're polite. They always have my back.
no,
Yeah.
I don't actually. Go on.
But these are the kids who, if they have a good relationship with you, will do anything for you.
Right.
Some of
Go ahead.
some of the kids that I've that have the longest criminal records are the nicest kids to me. They're always the ones who are polite. They're like, "Can I help you carry that, Miss P?" And "Miss P, can you please come here?" And they so on and so forth.
Just out of curiosity, why do you think that is? Do you think it's being misunderstood, or do you think it's like concern about like their own behavior and worrying about like getting caught, or being unnecessarily sent away for something? Like, is it a combination of all? Like, what do you think it is?
You know, I don't know if it's a fear of like getting sent back to juvenile hall or whatever, or jail or whatever. I don't think it's a fear of that, because honestly, some of these same kids that are perfectly polite with me
Mm-hmm.
are not so with some of the male staff members. So
It could be even something more positive, like just like they've had a lot of events that have shaped their character, and they could be doling out, positive interaction with you based on maybe feeling like you deserve it.
well,
Yeah.
I think what it is that maybe they've had so many teachers who have judged them by their
Mhm.
cover
Yeah.
beforehand, and people aren't stupid. They can sense when you don't like them. They can sense when you're mad at them. They can, like, people can sense when there's an elephant in the room. So
Right.
so I think it's like just returning the favor that I've shown them respect. Like, they're gonna respect me back, because I didn't make the automatic assumption that they were all like gonna like rob and kill and steal
Right.
from me.
Right. That's very interesting, though. But I've also personally noticed that, again, without getting into specifics, that that frequently some of my not with younger kids, but when it comes to like adolescents and up, sometimes, not always, but I've noticed that some of the girl clients will be they'll be like less confrontational and more like receptive than like some of the like my male clients to me. And I feel like,
Could it have something to do with like how people react to like the opposite gender?
I think that does have something to do with it, because I feel like teenagers, especially at that time, are like in, their bodies are like going through changes. And I feel like I feel like a lot of times they're like testing people to see what they can get away with. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with like looking at like other adult members of their own sex as like a challenge. It's like everything, it's like becoming like a hierarchy. It's just like, could I take this person in a fight, or like, am I smarter than this person? Whereas, someone of the opposite sex, there isn't that same kind of like innate, like instinctive sense of like competition. Like, I have to outdo this person.
I was gonna interject that canvassers used to experience that sometimes. Out
What,
in the
like
field.
jealousy of each other?
No, out in the field.
Oh, yeah, I
The
believe
way
it.
that they were treated by doors.
I
Like we
believe
would
it.
have women. We would
That-
have women say that they were being treated rough by women at the doors, and young men saying that they were being treated rough by men at the doors.
I believe it.
I never thought of that, but like, now that you say it, and I mean, obviously there were exceptions, but like,
That happened the same with me in
Yeah.
politics.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
your door-to-door interactions.
My door-to-door, same, almost the same. That's where you and I overlap completely, because we both had to do doors like all day long. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably have knocked over 20,000, 10,000 doors. I couldn't count anymore.
Yeah,
so
everyone
how
in
many
this
counting.
group.
doors have you locked?
Yeah,
knocked
everyone in this group has knocked doors.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
nice.
far.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, to add to that too, some of these discrepancies about how we're judged based on some stereotypical surface perceptions has been challenged by field managers oftentimes, who will say, your attitude and your mentality projects into some of these experiences. But I was able to literally recreate some experiences with fellow canvassers where two canvassers did the same house, but they knocked on two different doors of the house, one knocked on the front door, and then later on another person knocked at the side door.
Mhm.
And one person got the husband and one person got the wife.
Mhm.
And the
Oh.
interaction having to do with the side door with the wife ended up being a lot more positive than the front door dealing with the husband. And we were able to recreate this experiment a few other times to prove that the side door ends up having more of a like comfort to it, because when you're pulling into the driveway, you typically use your side door. You don't always use your front door when you have those options. So it made
That's
the
kind
person
of true.
answer what?
That's very true. Like,
Yeah, it created more of a familiar kind of home feeling, like as if they might know this person or this person might know them. So it eliminated a lot of defense mechanisms right off the bat that happen at the front door that don't
Mhm.
really happen at the side door the same way. They can still come up there, don't get me wrong, but the interaction with the two males in this case met with a lot of resistance and a lot of kind of competitive nature with the husband, whereas
Yeah.
the wife provided more of a cooperative environment and more of a
oh,
cooperative
KD is out
understanding.
of ghost mode.
Even
No.
when the husband said, "Oh, I already gave earlier," she cooperated even further with the canvasser, and they met the rest of the fundraising goal and completed the letters. Even though
The husband?
no, the husband gave a little bit and said he would think about it later. And then later on, when our other friend came to that same door, she actually finished meeting the goal completely with the rest of the money on a check instead of cash,
The wife, you mean.
and then helped get the letters together.
The wife, you're saying.
The wife helped complete the
So
interaction
when
with
you
the
did
male
this,
canvassers, two male canvassers.
oh, the wife. Okay, so when you did this experiment, did you recreate the experiment enough times to account for, whether it was the wife or the husband who was spoken to, and whether it was the front or the side door, and whether it was a male or female canvasser?
Right, we're talking about a lot of variables. And to be fair, these are people's lives. These are not exactly experiments. So to what ethical extent could we really, poke into the portals of people's lives? No, we couldn't form enough of an accurate model to present any accurate information. But with the information we had, many of us continued this method and found success at the side door. And
Okay.
regardless of the husband or wife answering,
Sure.
what I always found in all of my years of canvassing was it was always best to get the whole house involved. In fact, sometimes I would knock on the door and insist that this was a family event. I'd say, yeah, we're getting everybody in the house involved. Like, in fact, if multiple people can meet a membership, we could write out separate checks. And if
Yeah, that's
everyone
great.
can write a letter, this will give us more power in the lobby. And some people who are even a little resistant and reluctant, like, oh, I can't give, I don't know if I can do this, I can't write a letter, I can't. Before the third no, I would say, hey, man, it's a full, communal effort. Feel free to get the whole house involved. Please get your couch involved. Turn those cushions over. Spare change for social change. We need everybody doing something to make a difference.
You know what the funny thing is? I feel like that, like when I was a kid, that somehow I was always the person answering the door for the Nyberg person, like for years and years and years, and I'd be like, I'm a teenager. Let me get my parents.
Interesting.
I mean,
so the seed was kind of planted early for you.
Well, my parents were members like long before I ever worked there, so
Okay.
like throughout my childhood.
Yeah. Cool.
What's up, Katie?
Hey, what's up,
What's
Shady?
going on, people?
Howdy,
But,
Brent.
with the whole canvassing thing, I was going to say, I mean, before you touched on it, is the repetitive nature of canvassing allows us to keep track of these interactions in such a way that you could conduct your own experiment,
Yeah.
to varying degrees of scientific, rigor.
To share one more experiment on this subject before we popcorn off to another one, I did an entire side of a street with my hair completely down and my glasses on, the way I looked, without changing my shirt or my clothes, same clothes and everything. I took my hair, bundled it up in a hat, and took my glasses off. And I did that same exact street, not even 15, 20 minutes later. Got completely different interactions with people. People even referenced, oh, somebody was here earlier. Some people even made up stories about me earlier, like, oh yeah, I already helped him. I did everything earlier, knowing full well they did not do anything.
Right, right,
And even
It sounds like quite an experiment in social psychology.
yeah, that was by far the most interesting experiment, but it was also a little disheartening to see people kind of play games knowing full well like exactly what happened. So that one was a weird one. You know, but to speak to that is that interaction at the door, that especially that one-on-one interaction, there's some magic to that. There's some interesting
There
human
is.
developments that occur, and I don't think, you know, that's nothing to lose. Something I think society should focus on more is how can we create those human-to-human interactions and bring people into
JD.
these social connections more closely. Because
Yeah.
you know, we're straying away from it a little bit with automation, with some of
We
these
are.
like televised. Even this meeting is a very nice, beautiful thing that I love being a part of.
Mhm.
But how magical it is for me to knock on one of your doors and
Yeah.
to have information with support statements and research. You know, it's weird to think about. We'll get further here though. So I put it back on you to what you think
Well,
about how we
if
can make more.
you knock on my door, we can just
Hi.
have a conversation. You don't need support statements or anything like that. We can just
Yeah.
pick it. We can just chill. But it would be good to get together with this group and like maybe some kind of like cabin setting where we have a canoe and like we can just like all chill and
That sounds
have a
That'd be
good
nice.
time. That'd be
Post
fun.
COVID.
that
But
sounds amazing.
yeah, that would be amazing. But yeah, the magic of canvassing, I'm 2000% there with you. And with the whole onslaught of digital canvassing, we are losing that human touch that does have a magic to it. Yeah, I mean, I love just being out, you know, walking about and talking to people and experimenting. And a lot of the things that canvassers I find are some of the most uh, what's the word, when you superstitious people, right? Like you have a great time canvassing, you don't want to change any variables from when you had a good time. And sometimes I think we ascribe our good times to things which have little or nothing to do with it. But
Sometimes it's just chance. Like,
well, yeah, it's chance and it's also comfort level. I think like when you're very confident, you're going to do amazing things. And if you have like a favorite shirt or if you had a really good time with a certain hat or certain glasses or your hair was a
or you're
certain
doing
way.
the same street as you did last year and had a good time on that street last year.
Oh, I mean, I've totally had horrible times on the same street, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of different variables, but it is interesting, like the superstition
Or
of canvassers.
if you're me, it means being on Staten Island.
Yeah, well, even with different groups, I loved Staten Island when I was with NYPIRG, but it was rough with working families because like they knew like how, you know, because we were considered more, you know, like more radical and like people accused us of being socialists or communists, which I would later find out that we're not necessarily like.
Socialists or communists.
No, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say we're not averse to the word socialist. Like that's actually part of our DNA. Like we don't like, you know, it's not like in our introduction or something, but certainly like, yeah, we definitely have socialist leanings. And it's like interesting to be working for an organization that's not afraid to like accept that that's part of like the DNA of what we're considered. I mean, obviously we're not just like a straight up socialist organization, but they're not averse to the association.
To being called a socialist.
Well, to zap in on that too, the environmental canvassing I found most fascinating. I did do some political canvassing across the board as well, but the environmental canvassing I actually came back to. You know, I did environmental, a couple of political canvasses, and then I longed for that, you know, nonpartisan environmental work.
Yeah.
I missed it. I liked being able to stand in the middle between these different fences. And NYPIRG, I liked they had the call list. They had the previous information. I liked that. Though CC, opted against it because of preconceived notions, which can
Yes.
certainly interrupt some of the human qualities of the interaction, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
but the nonpartisan canvassing, I really enjoyed that. But what did you like about the partisan canvassing? You were saying the identifying as, you know, a working family's social-like agenda.
Well, it was just
Hi,
different.
Cynthia.
Hey, Cynthia, how's it going? It was just different. It was just like in Staten Island, like we would kind of get our asses kicked because, like, I think what happened was people
Unless you
gave.
and me.
Well, again, with Nightberg, I loved it. With working families, it wasn't so fun. But I think it was like people had given to something that they thought was like innocuous or just like something that everyone could agree with. And then later on, they found out like who we were, and then they were pissed and they're like, no, we don't want to give to this. And that's like where that 80% of Staten Island is Republican thing really showed its head. Whereas, like you were saying, on environmental issues, you can kind of get around those differences. Right,
See,
like
some of the most able supporters I've ever had were cross-party supporters. People from the other side who had finally had enough of their, and this could be either Democrat if I was running with a Republican candidate, or it could be Democrat Republican if I was running with a Democratic candidate. And those were some of the most rewarding. Those cross-party open minds, which I'll leave it at that as a name. And that was really some of the most rewarding times I spent canvassing.
Well, you know what was really weird and interesting was we were working on like a public financing of elections, like fair and just campaign, kind of, you know, anti-corruption, just like fair and just elections kind of campaigns. And during the the campaign for presidency, I was getting Trump supporters supporting. And the moment Trump won, none of my tactics worked anymore. Like all of a sudden, the open-minded people. I think what happened was
They're no longer open-minded. They closed their mind.
I think what happened was because there was this underdog feeling, like, oh, if he doesn't win, it's because the system is against Trump. So like, oh, I'll support your fair elections thing because I want it to be fair because I want him to win. But the moment he won, that's like, oh no, that fair election thing, you're just trying to say it wasn't a fair election and that, you know, Hillary should have won or something like that. You know what I mean? It was like I think it was just a very selfish kind of thing. Like there was an opening there that I could use beforehand, and then afterwards it was totally shut. It's like,
The door was closed.
yeah, we don't
I'm not surprised from my own campaigning, to be honest with you. I have never seen a candidate so bereft of corruption and grift in politics, and this is going back a ways.
Who?
Oh, Trump and his supporters naturally fall into it.
You've never seen a candidate so bereft of
Yeah, do you mean the opposite of bereft?
Yeah, the opposite.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong word. Sorry. English to Spanish again. Apologies.
No. I thought you were being
Lost in
I
translation.
thought you were doing the
sarcastic
stoic, sarcasm.
Yeah, no. I
Sarcasm or
was trying.
advocacy.
There you go. I was trying to seem fancy and use a big word that I thought of. Oh well.
No, it's all good.
And it got lost in translation.
It definitely did.
Hey, Cynthia, what's good with you?
Cynthia's having an ice cream.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Cynthia, what's good?
What's good with you, Cynthia?
Wait,
Silence of the
stop
Lamb.
talking.
Oh,
She
she's
doesn't
not.
have her headphones in. She can't hear us.
Hey, what's good? What's good with you, Cynthia?
Silence
Still
of the
doing
Lamb.
it.
We're on mute.
Something that was good that I liked that was being touched on with Emily before when she was talking about like students that have been through jail, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of logged in right at that moment, and how they had manners that really kind of stood out to her. I really like this because I was looking into some stuff that actually I stumbled on when I was looking into some prison reform issues. And there is a cognitive neuroscience study that warns us about the effect of the criminal justice system which can end up causing a lot of harm for underdeveloped minds of teenagers specifically. And the description goes into some of the complexities surrounding the developmental skills that are used to resist peer pressure and make accurate risk assessments with well-informed decisions. So what's weird to think is that at some level of the justice system, some of their abilities to resist peer pressure is actually damaged a little bit. And this could kind of explain a little bit like what Emily was saying, where there is some positive take on it, where like the social pressure of manners and being well-mannered is almost seemingly forced on them. Like they have to be well-mannered. But with that comes some other situations, like let's say they weren't in a classroom environment where the social pressure was saying, you know, use good manners, and they were
I'm
out
sure
in
they're
a
very different out with their friends than they were with me.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that their ability to resist the pressure of society or peer pressures, it gets damaged, and they don't develop that resistance skill because they're taught compliance in the criminal justice system. And while it looks good on the surface, the cognitive neuroscientist went into explaining how like this can affect risk assessment and interrupt the ability to make well-informed decisions. So like it's good short term, but the long-term effects end up being very damaging. So really, until somebody's like 25, the current way we run the prison system damages their development. And 25, that's my opinion. The neuroscientist just said teenagers. He didn't specify an age.
It sounds like that could lead to recidivism.
It sounds exactly like that.
That's exactly, I think, what that sounds like.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, recidivism is like when the system doesn't work and people end up leaving jail and going back in, right? Because they were never actually rehabilitated.
The
So if
revolving door. The
Yeah,
revolving door.
the revolving door. So if they're, you know, kind of falling into groupthink and into this way of not being able to, you know, think past, you know, the group mentality or however you were describing it, it could lead to people, you know, going back in. What was the word that you used? Like,
the inability to resist peer pressure.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That sounds like that could hurt someone and bring them like back in.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
kids have, some of these kids have no ability to resist peer pressure, it seems.
Right. And in a structured format like in school, that peer or social pressure, we could really say, can be helpful on the surface. But deep down, you know, what's happening to this child who's developing their mind, they're actually being set up for what you're calling recidivism.
Recidivism.
Yeah, recidivism. Yep.
Yeah, kind of like reseeding them back into the cycle that they were, you know, trying to break free from, but inevitably end up back in. I might even take a moment here to mention that there were some information that showed that prisons did have some educational options set up, but in 1994, there were some things that went down that kind of took away the rights of certain criminals from accessing educational resources, which
We
is
couldn't possibly be talking about the crime bill, could we?
right. I kind of, it's like I don't want to, because now there's a whole nother can of worms that goes into that. But at that time, where there was a lot of stuff being changed in the language of enforcement, we ended up losing a lot of positive stuff that was in prisons to help actually rehabilitate instead of reseeding the cycle. And
Yeah.
education becomes a strong role there, where you know, we could kind of become more utilitarian about these systems when we talk about reformation or reforming prisons, and really essentially abolishing the idea of prison and kind of creating the facility that can facilitate rehabilitation for special needs conditions.
That's exactly right. My thoughts and ideas for reforming prison, the central core is education, and the fact that you can't treat the prisoners like they're prisoners that with no hope of getting out or resuming a normal life.
Exactly. No, I agree.
And education is number one. It's number one on the outside, and it's doubly as important in the inside. Having good teachers, good materials, good programs to work with is key to giving these people another chance at life, especially the longer term citizens who are in prison. They need something solid to grip onto. Many people have turned to education, even in the worst situations, the worst prison systems in the United States. They have turned to education as a way out.
Hmm.
No, that's very true. And I find like, you
Knowledge is
know,
power.
well, I find that like my students, like whether they've been like involved in the system or not, like my students who used to like, who were there because they used to skip school all the time, like it's not like that they didn't want to learn, it's that they didn't want to learn the way that they were being taught in their old schools.
Hmm.
Well, I also think that a good, I don't know how to quite phrase this, but another way to keep children in school because at 16, they basically have the right not to be there. So what happens
it's
when you have
17
these
now.
17, excuse me, I'm corrected. It's been a long time since I've been in school.
Well, it's also
Emily.
different in different states, so I'm just saying
That's
what
true.
it is here.
That's true. But if you show people what life is like without an education, I think young people will make the right choice with education. I don't mean scared straight type of programs, but I something on the level of, if you don't study, if you don't make a path for yourself, something bad will happen, and show them evidence.
But if you go back to what, Damien was saying about teenagers not being able to resist peer pressure, you have to be hanging out with people who feel the same way and are willing to change and get
Yes.
the education that would pull them out of whatever situation they're in, which is generally not a good situation. So, I mean, education is very important, and it
Yeah.
gives like so many people resources to better their life. But if they're not ready for it, you can't like force them to educate themselves, right? Just like a drug addict, you can't force them to stop doing drugs. They have to be ready to not do drugs.
We need those alternative programs where people can learn trades and things
Mhm.
like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's
They
so
used to
many
work
What I've been
well-paid
saying.
jobs out there that don't require like formal education. And we need these trades, like
And we need them.
plumbers, we need plumbers, we need electricians, like construction
We have
workers.
union guys among us. Damien is a union guy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I mean, I work with a lot of union guys, and I'm damn sure a lot of them did not go to college, but they're doing hella well, especially in a union.
Well,
That OT,
Solidly
my God.
middle class.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you get
and not just,
amazing benefits.
Well, the plumber
Yeah.
makes as much money as I do, I'll tell you that.
There's some master plumbers that make six figures easily.
Well,
Yeah,
and
so more than I do.
not just money and social status, but what it does to your sense of self and your mind,
Yeah.
to be able to build something and like call it your own, and your sense of accomplishment, because school just doesn't serve like all minds in that way.
Mhm.
And it's kind of
No,
like
I never
approach.
advocated just for straight going to college like a drone program. If trade school is better for you, by all means. If a certificate program is like in the computer field is better for your individual case, by all means.
Mhm.
But I definitely believe that if you don't instill the idea that further education beyond what we give in high school, because our high schoolers don't graduate with any specialties, which I've always thought was odd. In England, that's exactly what they do. They graduate with something that sort of sets them up for their future. Even if they don't, yes. Even if they don't fulfill any more further education, they can go to their employer and say, "Look, I graduated from my high school with plumbing, shop, drama, history, math,
Construction, cosmetology.
construction,
Yeah.
maybe cosmetology on top of construction. Who knows?
Yeah.
To zap in on that a little bit, what's really cool is we're actually touching some factors of communal equity. Because when you have these specialized trade skills and you have these abilities to make something and call it your own, you also now have something that you can share and contribute to the community. Like I have friends and family that will call me to do electrical work for them. Like, hey, I got these outlets, I need to put them in. There's something wrong, this outlet isn't working, can you check it out? Yes, it's very dangerous. Yes, I'm crossing somewhat of a union line there because I'm not doing an organized labor move, but more than anything is I'm contributing to communal equity. I'm saying, yes, of course, like friends of the family and family members and people I know who need the help, I can save you a lot of trouble here. Whereas, you know, they may have had to turn to a non-union outlet or they may have turned to some other source to help with them that may have charged them quite a bit. And of course, I do want people to get paid and I want professionals to be accounted for. But again, I can't stress enough the importance of being able to share communal equity. So
But
when you
sometimes,
have
yeah, there's bartering too. I mean, like I know
Bartering
my
is the
mom,
oldest form of economy, and
absolutely,
it continues to this day.
like I know my mom has like the plumber that she has come like when she clogs her toilet or something. Like,
Lovely.
but well, the plumber that she comes is like one of my childhood friends. Was kind of like an older brother figure to me when I was growing up.
Right.
He
I'm just
actually no
kidding. I'm just
longer
kidding.
he actually no longer works formally as a plumber, but like he'll still do stuff like for my mom and for like other people in the community just like
Sure.
to help them out as a favor.
Mhm.
I mean, so yeah, there is like, you know, you want to help people out like with what you can do as much as you can.
Absolutely.
It's so important to have like friends that are in the trade in case you need help with anything.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you like the building porter where I live,
Mm-hmm.
we've had like this current one is very good, and
Mhm.
we've had some crappy building porters before, like who just really did not know what they were doing, and
Well, porters are really just there to clean.
well, maybe porter isn't the right word, like maintenance guy,
Right,
maybe?
Maintenance
Super?
guy for the
Yeah.
building. Yeah.
Like a handyman.
Handyman, yeah, that's it. Because we have a super, like we have a live-in super, and then
Mm-hmm.
and also a handyman.
Mm-hmm.
Is it me, or do a lot of supers in New York City not really know what they're doing too much? Is that a normal thing?
That is
I
a
think
normal
that's
thing.
pretty normal, yeah.
Yeah.
in some shops that I've worked with, the superintendents have previously been foremen or journeymen, and they've made it through the ranks. But I can't speak on all accounts. In fact, with some of the general contractors, I noticed their superintendents have never worked with tools before, and they'll even provide us with some information that didn't account for some complications, like being able to fit your tool in the area where you need to work, because they've engineered such a tight design that there's just no real way to feasibly put it together. And
Amen.
it's
You have a filthy mouth. That's all I have to say.
I was really having trouble keeping a straight
Look
face.
at Emily. She was about to die.
I'll be sure to wash it out extra good.
Just kidding.
You know,
just
my
kidding.
grandmother would have washed her mouth out with soap.
Oh, are you kidding? That's my dad. My
I
dad
actually-
would drag me to the sink and do it for me. Here you go. You're not gonna do it right anyway.
No,
I've
Oh my god.
I make
My
my
dad
own toothpaste
used curse
actually, and I
words.
use soap in the toothpaste. Little Bronner's soap secret ingredient there.
Oh yeah.
What?
So, yep. Just for people out there in the world that might need to know this beautiful combo: baking soda, coconut oil, peroxide, Bronner's soap. Specifically peppermint. Take some peppermint leaves, even if you
To
got 'em.
brush your teeth?
Correct. Yes.
Ugh.
It's
I
actually
thought you meant to
That's so
wash the
sick.
curse words out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I it's been very effective and healthy. I do see dentists. They comment frequently on my gum health. The one thing though, no matter how well you brush your teeth or how well you do anything, you'll always need dentists to help check out a few things.
Yep.
especially in your bottom movable mandible jaw, the back of those teeth, because of the just sheer gravity and enzymes in saliva from eating food, you'll always have a little bit of buildup in those teeth. You'll always need to scrape that and be careful of that buildup. So I've got something that works really well, but you need
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a diabetic, so dental health has always been a problem for me. No
Type
matter
1 or
how,
2?
type 1, Cynthia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it
Oh,
sucks. It sucks.
no.
It's terrible. It's
Like,
it's
since
been
birth
a
or
lifetime of
childhood?
hospitals, basically. I'm sorry, Emily.
Since like birth or slash
Yeah, since
childhood?
I came to the country at 2 years old. At 3 years old, my mom got that present for herself. It was pretty terrible.
Do you have an insulin pump?
I do. I would show
Oh,
you, but it
wow.
would be very small on the screen.
Wow. How do you shower with it? Oh my God, I can ask
No,
all the
you
questions
just
I've
take
always
it
wanted
off.
to ask.
You
You
take
can
it
take
off
it
because
off
like
the
I go in the
shower.
pool and everything. It's fine. It's fine.
But the
But that's
pump,
quite a miracle. Let me tell you,
Uh-huh.
the insulin pumps allow me to travel without insulin. They allow me to better control. It's quite good. It's quite good.
Well, I could tell you, I remember because
Well, I'm glad you're with us.
Thank you.
I have two cousins who were in the same situation, like type 1 diabetic from like toddlers slash
that's
babies.
crazy.
And they would always have to, like, they would be 8 years old and they'd come to visit and they would have to bring like massive supplies of insulin and whatnot
Yeah,
to
yeah.
pre-pump.
Which I do when I travel. You should see, like you know how people take like their favorite book in their bag. I take my medication, and I always get stopped by the by
the
the damn
TSA.
by TSA. Like I'm gonna set up a CVS or something. Like wherever I'm going. It's ridiculous.
So Raul, what is the difference? So the insulin pump that you have, is it just a larger supply of it versus like the little
Well,
pouch
that's a
thing that
great
you could
question.
stick on?
You know how you get an IV to get when you're dehydrated.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. It's a slow drip inside of your system, so it acts more like. And plus, when you eat, you give yourself flushes basically. If you were still using the IV metaphor, and basically what it does is it mimics the pancreas better, so your overall health is typically better.
What are we
Better
talking
than
about?
like the little cartridge that you can stick on your skin. I think
That's
those are insulin too.
Yes, you can do cartridges. You could do patches. You could take pills. I mean, there's now diabetic type 1s can't really take the pills. But I'm sorry, Flav, they're asking me about my
Diabetes?
insulin pump and
okay.
diabetes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And now my
Why
mother.
are you sorry?
Well, because usually nobody wants to hear this. It's just kind of my.
It's so interesting.
No,
I never get
it's
to
not
ask
I'm
this.
interested.
I want to hear it.
Okay,
So do
great.
I.
Okay.
I inject myself every day too, so it's interesting.
Do
to
you
hear.
for
Yeah.
insulin as well?
You're
No,
diabetic?
not for insulin. I have MS.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay.
Gotcha.
Oh, they should have a
Oh,
pump for
wow.
that too.
Yeah,
They
they
should.
probably they're working on it most likely.
I hope they do.
Well, until they stopped working on absolutely everything to make sure that we got a coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That
that's
first.
the number one. I hear that there's 2 things in the system that are already at stage 3 testing. So I'm hoping, because I know a few people that have had the virus and it wrecks their lives basically.
I feel like the Apple people should like work on the coronavirus.
The Apple people. Huh.
Well, yeah, I feel like with all of the, the way they can make the iPhone keep improving all the time.
Well,
take all
they've
that
tried to
time.
put in, they've reworked
Bill Gates
the
owns the
iPhone.
patent. They can't.
Ooh,
The what?
yeah, I mean, that's truth right there. Talk about that, Pat.
The
Bill
patent to what?
Gates owns the patent for the coronavirus, so they can't work on it.
No, he does not.
There's not a patent for a virus.
I know, right? A new virus that we just found out about less than a year ago.
Well,
But-
no,
You mean
he
a
spoke
patent
about it
for
in
the-
2016.
You mean a patent for the vaccine? Well, that's because they were anticipating shit was like, yeah, they knew.
Well,
They knew
Bill
shit
Gates
was
was
coming.
anticipating this.
Yeah, they knew. Smart people knew that shit was gonna pop off.
Yo, that shade.
Well, there's
Yeah,
an
really.
article in Wired talking about the guy who actually predicted the coronavirus, and that we should have listened to him. He was around 16 too.
Yeah,
when he
this other
first
guy
started
named
talking about
Obama. This other guy named Obama, who had like a whole, a whole playbook on like what to do.
Yeah,
crazy.
That
It's
shit was
completely
about to pop off.
ignored.
But
Why
back-
take reality why bring reality into this, sir?
yeah, it's called blame the black guy, not count on the black guy to provide the
Solution.
Well,
Solution.
solutions.
It's an
So,
anomaly.
Speaking of which,
What a sordid state of
we're
affairs.
back to the birther craziness now.
Oh
again.
yeah, part 2.
Shut
Just
up.
Electric
Oh my
Boogaloo.
god.
Oh, do you
Yeah,
want to do that?
Boogaloo.
to the next
Kamala
one?
Electric
Harris?
Boogaloo. Right, exactly.
Are you talking about Kamala Harris?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
he's-
they're now saying Kamala Harris is an illegal. It's part of the QAnon group.
It's
Well, yeah, the
crazy
language-
how it's only minorities that are illegal.
Oh,
It's
of
not
course,
people.
of course.
But
Well,
nobody
he
cares
said as
about Trump's
much.
life.
He's always giving props to the Nordic countries and whatnot.
I don't want to talk about politics. Let's go back to
Right.
diabetes for a second.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
questions
yeah.
do you guys have?
Because
I think-
one of my favorite podcasts is like a true crime podcast, and one of the ladies
Oh no.
is a type 1 diabetic. And
Okay.
she keeps going on about like you need the insulin to stay alive. And the fact that insulin is so effing expensive if you don't
Yeah.
have insurance.
The
If you don't have
original-
insurance, how are diabetics staying alive?
They're not. That's the
Yeah,
that's
they're
the
not.
big
Oh my
That's
God.
the problem.
That's the problem. I don't know if you've heard, but basically, people with bad insurance or very little insurance, they've been rationing their own insulin because,
Oh,
unfortunately, it costs
God.
like $300 and up.
Yeah.
For a vial?
For a one vial. That
How
lasts
long
you
does a
maybe
vial
week,
last?
a
Are
week.
you kidding me?
2 weeks maybe. If
and-
I'm thinking about it, because I split mine. So part of mine is through injections like classical, and part of it is through the pump. So
Oh my
Now,
God.
if I'm not mistaken, when we talk about patents, when we talk about some of these cures, diabetes, like the patent for that was sold for like $1, right, from the original.
yes, no.
Remember
The,
that?
the two Canadians who found the
Yeah.
insulin, the human synth based insulin,
Right.
basically they made a deal with a big pharmaceutical. I believe it was Lilly, and they said that they would only sell it for $1 on their part.
Okay.
They unfortunately didn't make any restriction on the people selling the insulin.
Can you go to Canada and get dollar vials?
No,
No.
I cannot.
It's-
I cannot.
But
Why?
even still,
Because the system will only take Canadians, basically.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, people do go
Wow.
to Canada
That's
to get
disgusting.
For other
diabetes.
things.
Oh, not diabetes medicine.
I have never I've had a lot of friends who have gone to Mexico, which is closer to me anyway at this
Right, right.
point.
Yeah.
But basically in Mexico it costs I would say under $100 right now.
That's still so much for something
It
that
is.
you need to live.
Yeah, for something
Correct.
essential.
Wait,
Let
now,
me-
are
let
you
me- let me-
saying
let me
that's
inform
with
you guys.
insurance? That's with insurance?
That's with in Mexico no insurance. That's
Yeah.
just over the counter. But
Um,
that's still an argument for a free market capital there that's working better than our much more enlightened version of healthcare.
How long does one vial last?
About a week, Katie.
I thought they
Now,
last like a month.
So it's about
No.
$1,200 a month.
Yes, it
That's
is.
insane.
And that's not
my God.
unusual. That's not unusual because when I was a kid, I was working basically to pay my medical and my medical bills, seeing doctors and everything.
Well,
Oh my
$1,200 a
God.
month here in the U.S. is with insurance.
With insurance. No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry,
easy.
without
Wow.
insurance. If you were to get everything over the counter, excuse me.
But
And-
with it's less than that. A few hundred.
With it, it's if like mine, I have catastrophic care because unfortunately my lifespan is just not too long, but that's another story. But basically they don't expect me to live too long, so they've approved everything for as long as I need it.
Uh-huh.
But typically what most diabetics get is like the Obamacare special.
Uh-huh.
Where and that I believe it ends up being $50 to $60 a vial.
That's
Oh,
still
so
kind of
it's still-
expensive.
Yeah, that's
So
still
it's
kind of
still
expensive.
so it's still $200 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, and let me
Significantly
tell you
less.
something. Most diabetics will pay that in a heartbeat because we know how bad it can get.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Well, to
Not
zoom in on that right there, I mean, we're talking about a big killer. I mean, the big killers in our country right now, what is it? It's cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. These are like
Yes.
three big.
And they're all related. Lucky me.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and,
Right.
and they've gone on for a very long time. So when we talk about like the priorities of our medical scientific fields that are approving of third trial testing, you would think that these things would be up there. Even MS is on a rise. I know
Yes.
Yeah.
people that are suffering from multiple sclerosis, two in specific that have reached some pretty critical conditions. And I feel like that's being kind of ignored, not just recently, but for a long time. Put on
Oh,
the
absolutely.
back burner.
Absolutely.
You're telling us some things that, as people who don't suffer from diabetes, we never even conceived of that. Like you have a pump that's attached to you, or you're doing these injections. I've seen some insulin shots applied with someone before who has to regularly test their blood sugar
Yes,
levels.
I do the blood sugar like everybody.
Yeah.
I do it in public. Now, half of my family has never been approving of me doing my insulin and blood sugars in public. But I always told them, I said, listen, if you saw a guy in a wheelchair, would you tell him, hey, man, I can't really, the idea of your
I
wheelchair
can't
really
look at
upsets
you
me.
in a wheelchair.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Get
like,
up and
like,
walk away.
No,
Are they
could-
against breastfeeding in public as well?
I'm not against breastfeeding.
No.
No.
Are the same folks who are
Oh
against
yes, absolutely, because
Yeah.
they're classical conservative Catholics.
Well,
Very
I was gonna say I'd be remiss if I couldn't throw a shot at capitalism. Like that's not like this conversation is not a good look for free market capitalism.
You're right.
just
You're
because-
right. It isn't because
Just
there's
because
the,
it's cheaper in Mexico does not mean that that's a good look.
No, it's not something for us to emulate. Because listen, in Nordic countries, in the Nordic Scandinavian countries,
Yeah.
those countries have it under control where they limit the sale of, say, things like insulin to a certain price. They price regulate, which is what is needed, because unfortunately it gets out of control.
Yeah,
I don't
you've
mind
seen-
people making a profit off of medicine. Let me be very honest with you. It's fine. It's good. But the problem is when that's all that there is and they have no consideration, it tells me that there's no humanity in the process.
Well, I mean,
course not.
profit and humanity don't always go,
They don't go
Hand
hand
in
in
hand.
hand.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
no.
and especially when there's no limit to the profit.
Right.
I remember
for
the
sure.
little scuzzball they dragged up. He was the CEO of one of the largest insulin manufacturers, and
Really?
the
Martin
the
Scully.
senators were basically grilling him, and he laughed at one point.
Martin
he said,
Shkreli. Yeah.
"Yes, he is a complete scumball, a complete
Oh yeah,
scumball."
100%.
Mr.
Yeah,
Still in federal
he
prison.
got
he
into
couldn't
it
get
with,
compassionate
Ghostface Killer.
release.
Yeah.
Who
About
got into
what?
it with Ghostface. I don't know. He was laughing about owning the Wu-Tang album.
Yep, I
And,
remember that.
Oh, like the limited edition Wu-Tang
Yeah,
album.
they just got into it, and Shkreli was saying he had some goons from wherever he's from, and he was kind of like trying to mock, the Wu-Tang and stuff. And
Ghostface is diabetic too.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
is
is. Yes,
He
he
is.
is.
Interesting.
Type 1?
We all know each other. We go to we go to meetings.
Yeah, you want to go to meetings?
When it comes to type 1 and type 2, I mean, type 2 is, if I'm not mistaken, that was onset, like after the fact.
Yes.
And type
Yeah.
1 is
But
just
it's
onset.
not. It typically you can have mine is called what used to be called juvenile, but because they've started to find there's people develop type 1 in their later stages of life, and people were developing type 2 earlier, especially with bad diets.
Mhm.
Which increases your chance. It does not cause diabetes, but if you're genetically prone to diabetes type 2, then you probably will have it. Considering that our American diet is not the best, to be honest with you.
I was going to even add to that factor there too with the diet and the country. If I'm not mistaken, there are some other countries like that are underdeveloped that do not suffer from some of these conditions like diabetes, heart disease.
I was going to mention that Ghana is starting to see a rise in diabetes as they've seen this influx of sodas and all these sugary
American
products.
processed food.
And
Yeah.
McDonald's, wherever
McDonald's, yes.
McDonald's goes,
Yes, and
diabetes will
McDonald's.
follow.
Do you
Yep.
think we have enough coinciding incidences to draw together an accurate hypothesis here and
Yes.
perhaps begin
No,
making
absolutely.
some, okay,
We have for years, yeah.
with some
Yes.
scientific method, perhaps we could apply some organizing that focuses on that, and we could begin inspiring others too from this meeting on to begin as producers and consumers working together to stopping these companies as best we can, which means stop working for them and stop consuming stuff from them. And it's a small step in the direction that we might want to go. I know some people addicted to sodas, diet sodas especially. And I have presented a lot of information to help them. Some of them broke the chain, thanking me later on after several arguments over aspartame. But
Yes.
I wasn't allowed to have diet anything when I was a kid. Like no Equal, no Sweet and Low, no Splenda, no nothing.
right.
Like I just wasn't allowed. Like my parents said, either you just have less regular sugar or you have nothing at all.
And some people that suffered from diabetes said that it helped them. Sucralose or aspartame was better for them because it didn't spike their insulin.
Yeah, but it's a misnomer. See, I'm
Okay.
a person with a problem with diet soda, but
Yes.
I've given up everything else. So it's like my last thing that I do that's terrible.
Yeah.
At the
Why
very
did you
least,
get
we
your
should
last
stop.
vice?
We should stop subsidizing these
Yeah.
companies.
Oh, for
which-
sure.
The idea that we're subsidizing
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar companies is
Yeah,
ridiculous in the first place.
socialism for the rich and capitalism for the rest. I
Right.
don't agree with that. I don't agree with that statement. So
Something that I've seen help people a little bit, not to a point of any extreme turnaround, but cinnamon and mixtures with cinnamon has helped regulate blood sugar levels for some people. In fact, my little
Really?
like cat chew
I've
snacks
heard
that I
that.
make, I use a lot of cinnamon.
It's
for
an
that very
anti-inflammatory as well.
correct. Yes.
Well, that's probably why. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for some reason, cinnamon calms me. I don't know why. I know it's like a sugary type of. It has the carbohydrates like a sugar,
Yes.
but it calms me instead of making me hyper.
Yeah, I would say, using that as much as you can. I even, when I was working on the field, people get all their coffee orders or tea orders or whatever. Sometimes I would just get hot water and just fill it with cinnamon. I'd be like, yeah, just dump a lot of cinnamon on there. Like, put more cinnamon. I keep telling the lady, more cinnamon. Just put a whole bunch in there. People
This
look at me
sounds
like
like
I'm
it's in my
crazy.
file of strange Starbucks orders that I've gotten.
Yeah, but there's no like too much cinnamon. I've never had I've had too much cinnamon. It does kind of, actually, I should say, if you do have a lot of cinnamon, it can clear you out, so to speak, kind of cleanse you a little bit. Your body might,
It can get things moving.
yeah, it might give you a little like ejection mode kind of thing going, but it's not like an all day ejection. It's just, that keep your regular kind of coffee style ejection. But for the most part, cinnamon didn't really damage me, and I really, you could say I abused cinnamon for a good 3 or 4 months through the winter season.
I can imagine a cop now pulling you over and saying, "Oh my God, it's that cinnamon head."
Yeah, no, definitely. I was heavily influenced by cinnamon for a good 3-month stint.
Well, I'm glad you're off of it, sir. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, your hair wasn't even that color before, right?
Yes, it altered things for the better, though, I would say. So I would recommend experimenting, pushing the limits, seeing how your body handles it. I've never seen any reports of people don't have it dry. The cinnamon test, the spoonful of cinnamon. Don't do that.
challenge.
Yeah, whatever that
that.
is.
That's
Don't
crazy.
do that. Yeah, that's no good. But
I saw an episode of one of those ER shows where they, like real life ER shows, where they had like 2 teenage girls in the ER in respiratory distress because they had done the cinnamon challenge.
wow.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, right. There's, moderation is key. Experiment and explore. Cinnamon is a great ally to your body to use. Thank the cinnamon tree and its beautiful
Yeah, there's actually a whole list of herbs that are good for anti-inflammation. I think, like including like
Ginseng.
basil,
Ginseng.
and maybe
Nice.
cayenne pepper, and like there's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, cayenne
Oh, well-
pepper and cinnamon go well together.
Misha
Yeah.
makes like when he gets laryngitis or when one of us gets laryngitis, Misha makes like it's basically like the Beyonce cleanse.
Okay.
It's like hot water and
Hey, if
cayenne
Beyonce is
pepper
willing
and-
to come and give it to me, I'm not gonna fight her. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
right.
fight her.
All right.
How
No,
about
but
that
it's
for
like-
communal equity?
I know.
But it's
Her,
like
her husband might be upset at that though, so I'll lay
you
off.
don't want to piss off Jay-Z.
No, not my
Fine,
idea
he's
of
a
fun.
cheater.
He doesn't seem like that. Oh, come on. He doesn't seem like that harsh.
99 problems, yo.
I don't
What
know.
else
He
is-
grew up in some of the
Eliminate
worst neighborhoods, so I mean,
What
Yeah,
else is
but
in the
Sam
tea?
and I
I
lived
think
in
he's a
that
very, I
neighborhood.
think he's a very jealous person.
yeah, I think he deserves to be.
Yeah,
I mean, rightfully
seriously.
so.
If
Yeah,
he's a
exactly.
jealous person, he brought that on himself. I'm sorry. If he's a jealous person, he brought that on himself.
Isn't he a fucking cheater?
I heard that.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I think he's had some episodes.
I mean, he probably is, but
And like,
nobody's
look at
told me
him. Come on.
personally.
Their last two albums were about that. Come on.
Exactly.
I wasn't listening to the lyrics, nor did I really listen to the
Becky
album.
with the good hair. Come
Yeah.
on.
I mean, if he was, he's repented and left that lifestyle alone.
Yeah.
I don't
I would agree
trust.
with that.
Once a cheater, always a cheater, Flay.
Exactly.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I think what we're really getting at is open, honest communication is
Absolutely.
a good relationship.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Maybe they'll do
Yes.
a song about that next.
I don't think so, but
Maybe.
it's nice thoughts.
Well,
That would
he
be
has.
good energy if he did.
He has. It's called 444.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
hear
that whole,
this.
that whole album, yeah.
Yeah, that whole album.
Really?
That
I
was
missed
basically an apology to his wife.
Oh wow.
Did she accept?
Well, they're
They're still
married.
together.
Yeah, they still get together.
So people stay married even though they're unhappy. Doesn't mean shit.
And they had 2 more kids, I think, since then.
No, it's
Again,
had the
that
twins,
doesn't mean
he said.
anything.
I mean, for a moment, they were.
At least they could stand to be
They
in the
worked
same
things out
room.
for a moment.
Yeah, they worked things out long enough to conceive
Yeah, right.
conceive a set of
These 2
twins.
kids.
And one time may be an accident, but the second time, it's on you, buddy.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's all you. You're fully accountable.
Yeah.
So I've never looked at Jay-Z and thought, yeah, I totally.
I mean, to me, he always looks like Joe Camel.
Joe Camel, who is that?
Joe Camel.
Oh, you're too
You mean
young
the
for
cigarette
Joe
dude?
Camel. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he got banned, you know.
Yeah, he got
canceled-
banned. That's
Yeah, he got canceled right out. No more Joe Camel, no more Camel Cools.
Well,
I
they
think
don't-
Nas
they
called
don't
him that.
make-
Yeah.
They don't make cigarettes anymore for the American market. They make it for overseas now.
Well,
Really?
Really, they make no profit off the stuff in America.
yeah, 'cause
Good.
people
That's
quit
awesome.
smoking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
um,
But unfortunately, what we do is we export our junk to other countries, third world countries, without the health programs we have.
Right. And Turkey actually banned menthol cigarettes specifically. Like they're illegal. Like you get arrested,
Why?
it's a big deal.
Really?
with
Why?
Details
'Cause
why
they-
they
'cause
do
they
it, I
taste
can't
good.
be too certain for. Some of it has to do with menthol being somewhat more addicting and
The
perhaps
carcinogenic,
having a greater health risk that their medical programs are not fit to deal with on a large scale. I might also mention that hashish hookah smoking is very popular in Turkey as well. So
Sure.
as
It's
far as
basically like
flavored
very
tobacco
unfiltered
goes,
smoke.
menthol cigarettes might be corporately competing with the hashish. So that there might be a corporate sponsorship conflict as well, besides the obvious medical conflict. There might be a
a
corporate.
collusion of things is what you're
I
talking
think
about.
it's more. It
Right,
sounds like
right.
it might be more of a corporate sponsorship thing because I have a hard time believing that like menthol smoke is more unsafe and more appealing than hookah
Well, isn't
smoke.
it tiny? I mean, I hate to
Wait, you're
sound
not
my
talking
ignorance,
about
but
hashish. You're talking about shisha.
Shisha.
Those are two
Hashish, I'm
different-
sorry. Yes. I'm unfamiliar with this field. I've juggled a lot of studies and I have a lot of different names of things I'm unfamiliar with. So yes, I think to correct that, what do you call it? Shisha?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what hashish? That's like a hash type thing,
Yeah.
I guess. Then. Okay.
Yeah, that's like marijuana oil hardened and put in a dryer.
Oh, okay.
that
Oh,
sounds
wow.
pleasant.
It's very harsh. Don't do it.
Well,
Sounds like it.
I saw the show Weeds. I learned a lot from that show.
Mm.
Nancy Botwin taught me everything.
Nancy
you know?
Botwin.
Now Emily's gonna move to the suburbs and sell weed.
The original Breaking Bad.
Yeah, right. Breaking Bad light.
Yep.
As profitable as it would be, I don't think my day job would
Yeah,
like the
I
idea
don't
of me
think-
like of me selling weed.
Mm.
Well, not if you're going to talk about it on these Zoom calls.
Certainly not.
Yeah. Were we supposed
Well,
to
no-
cut to another subject or cut the feed at a certain time? I don't mean to interrupt the conversation. I'm just wondering what our topic idea was and time count was.
I mean, we're playing it fast and loose on a Friday.
Okay.
Ooh, we're
I mean,
getting
they're-
wild.
Yeah, we're getting
Jeez,
wild.
Damien, don't kill the buzz.
Yeah, don't kill the vibe, man.
I've been kicked out of parties for such a situation like
less?
that. Yeah, killing the buzz, asking too many questions.
Well,
People
there
are
was Raul talking about the communal thing versus the personal
Oh yeah.
thing that he had spoken about once. He kind of touched upon it already, but that was the subject. And then there was possibly reading a script, though I've been having I was having trouble like trying to find like where in the script there's like something for everyone, including a Morgan Freeman part, but that doesn't have to be the central focus.
Well, that's probably a good idea because everybody wants to be Morgan Freeman. So
I don't. I can't live up to that role.
that's fair. That's honest too. Thank
I can't
you.
do that voice. Can't
I
even
can't do
try.
that. If
None
I could
of
do
us
that
can.
voice, I'd be a lot more famous.
Yeah, none of us can, sadly. I wish I could.
take that as a dig. That was
Oh,
my that was my new claim to fame. I was gonna ride this wave of Morgan Freeman voice.
You know what? I was
Oh, you
thinking
can
that
do it.
I was thinking that you might be able to actually. I bet you could actually. So forgive me
You
for
or-
not.
You or KD.
I've tried the Morgan Freeman impression and it's not well.
To come out good.
Yeah.
You
He
do
has
have a deep
very,
voice. I
very,
feel like
very-
That's
I'm
what I was
like a
gonna
Barry
say.
White type of voice, KD.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
Morgan Freeman has a very unique voice.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Yeah,
That's why I
does.
it
can't
is.
do it. I know I
It's
can't.
it's deep, but it's very warm. It's like a very
Yeah.
warm.
Like,
Yeah.
friend-
it's
You
deep,
feel
but it'll-
comfortable, which is
it's
probably
deep, but it'll put you to sleep. Like I think KD's voice is more like Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
No.
Oh my
Katie's
God.
voice
no.
is deeper than that.
Don't curse KD like that.
That's the voice of Shredder. What are you talking about? Shredder's a badass.
Who's the voice of Shredder?
Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince.
Really?
He was.
Yes, you didn't know
was.
that.
No, I
The
did
little
not
piece of
know
turtle
that.
trivia.
Oh
You
my
learn something
god!
new every day.
Thank you for telling me that. My brother is gonna go nuts. Oh my god! If he
Wait,
didn't
do
already,
you mean Shredder from the cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, well, he may already know that actually, so I shouldn't assume.
Cartoon or the movie?
No, the cartoon.
I think the
one that
movie was
on
different.
after
I think the
school.
movie was a different dude.
From the 90s?
Yeah, the one that was on in the 90s. That like.
Yo,
after
props
need
for
to
that
Google
movie, by
this.
the way, though. The live action movie, really well done. I mean,
Yeah, that
look
one
at
was
movies
good.
today, computer graphics and all these things. I mean, they made those turtle costumes work.
Oh, you
They
mean
made-
back in the 90s?
Yeah, that was really well done. I would dare somebody to shoot a movie that.
They had good
but-
animatronics too to make them have
Yeah, I'm
emotions
saying.
and facial
I thought
recognition.
maybe I was just a kid and I just kind of accepted it or tolerated
Right,
it, and
right.
I watched it again and I was blown away. I was like, this is amazing. This
The
is
second
great.
one is actually much better, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole
Entertaining,
setup.
very entertaining.
yeah, the fact that they were able to keep the costumes going and working.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
That must have been a
easy to
small
do.
miracle too, Damien.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to pull, or I'm gonna have to call out and just be like, no, I think the first one's better. Just because.
Sam, it's okay to be wrong. Go ahead with your bad
Oh,
self.
thank you. I
It's okay
appreciate
to be
that.
wrong.
Well, number one, they
Tell me why. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I didn't say you were wrong.
One of us has to be right, sir.
That's well.
They're both
okay.
opinions. There's no
No,
right or
it's
wrong.
very serious business. Okay, it's
When it
turtle
comes to Kia
trivia.
Minty,
Someone
first
has to
one
be
is
right.
better because it's the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding,
Oh,
Sam.
I know.
Okay,
oh, I
good,
know.
good.
It's good. It's good. Okay, yes, it's true. It's true. One of us has to be wrong. Fine.
Well, the first
Well-
one doesn't have Vanilla Ice associated
Well,
with it, right? Or-
yeah. Well, that was going to be my second. That was going to be my second point.
That's
my
not
fir-
fair. That's not fair. Bringing up the Vanilla Ice clause. That's not fair.
That
My-
ain't right.
It's in
Yeah.
there.
But my first point was going to be that they recast and reduced the role of April O'Neil to the point where she was almost like useless in the second film.
Oh, that's a thing.
And I heard like rumors that the first actress was difficult or whatever. I don't care. She had more personality, and I think that's
Sounds
And I
like
think
Aunt,
that-
sounds like Aunt Viv.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
right.
say.
Right? Yeah, yeah. The first Aunt Viv I thought was a lot cooler than the second one,
Oh,
but
She was
there's
the
no
best one.
comparison. There's
The
no
second
comparison.
one was
not-
whitewashed.
which is nothing. Well, I guess that is. You know what I mean? I guess that would be an insult to the actress who played her, even though I don't mean it that way. I guess it is because she's she took that role after that, so it couldn't have just been because of how it was written. It must have been the way she played her too.
She
So
was too nice. She didn't have any sass.
basically,
didn't have that flavor.
I just came for Aunt Viv number 2, and at this point, without even intending to, I realized that I'm going to have to be looking over my shoulder now. So
Nah, Aunt Viv number 2, she doesn't want any smoke. It's Aunt Viv number 1 I'd be afraid of.
Yeah, number one is who I'd be afraid of.
the characters, but the characters are one thing. The actresses who play them, we don't know what they're like in real life. Number 2
But that doesn't matter.
Oh, actually, we do know what.
Yeah, number one. That's
we
the
know
reason
what
why
number
she got
1 is like.
replaced.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've seen the interviews. Yeah, she
That's
is.
a good point.
She
She's
is
a
on
bitch,
a
even.
whole. She's on a whole nother level. You do
Even
not want
off-
that smoke.
Even during an interview? Now I have to look this up.
She's
Dude, she's
interesting.
on a whole nother level.
What's her name?
Just Google Aunt Viv number 1. She'll come up.
But that must be one of the reasons why they
Is it
recast
Janet
her.
something?
No, she didn't
Well,
get
yeah,
along
Will
with
Smith
Will
didn't
Smith.
like her. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she didn't get along with Will Smith.
And Will
No,
Smith
you can
is the
tell
star.
You can tell she's extra. She's like extra. Read all about it.
So
Really?
she didn't get along with Will Smith. Does that mean she supported Jada's entanglements?
Well, I don't even know how deep that was back then, but yeah, they didn't get along. I visually, it's kind of
Definitely
weird
said
that
that's what he gets.
that's weird that the second one was light skinned like that, like as if
Right,
they were
right.
looking for the opposite of the first one.
Right? They
Like,
went
Like they were
completely
looking
to
for
the left.
somebody docile.
they went from a slender, dark-skinned woman to a thicker, light-skinned woman. They were like, you look like the opposite. Let's cast you.
Different hair color and everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't even think she had to read for the part. They were just like, let's get somebody else.
Wait,
She
so
probably didn't.
just to be clear, we're comparing the 90s version to the remake version in 2014?
No,
No,
we're talking about
no.
Fresh
There was
Prince
a
of Bel-Air.
remake?
We're talking
Yeah,
about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Oh, you're
I'm sorry.
talking. You thought we were talking about the turtles still?
I'm still thinking about it because I'm still seeing these handcrafted, perfect little. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was just like so.
Oh,
well
that's
done.
funny.
I'll tell you
Also-
something. If you like turtle stuff, there's a great documentary series on Netflix called "The Toys That Made Us," and
Oh, yeah.
one of them
Oh, I've
happens to
seen
be.
that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's
it's
a great
great.
show.
I totally recommend. I'm addicted to the series, and
great.
I totally recommend that people look at it because you see all these brilliant personalities behind the toys. But with them, they actually set up a meeting between Laird and Eastman, which they haven't talked
Oh.
in like 14 years. And it's really it's kind of it ends on a sad note because you see them that you lead up to where they broke apart. Then when they put them back together, it was like two old friends that never left each other's company. It was kind of touching in a way, to be
This is
honest.
just the people that made the toys?
These are people that made the comics,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I've never seen them get that deep on any particular subject. But that was pretty deep.
Maybe we could
Couldn't
read
get through a show
script
without
based on
mentioning the
that.
comics.
Based on what?
Wow.
Oh, based on like a comic or based on like, actually that'd be a great on that ish kind of thing. Like read a comic book as if we were scripted characters from the comic.
Oh yeah, that'd
that'd
be
be
fun.
interesting.
Typically,
Mean-
comic books have a lot
yeah.
of characters casted.
Meanwhile, have you heard that they are rebooting Fresh Prince as a gritty drama?
Shut
Really?
up.
Get
That's
outta
the
here.
worst idea ever.
Do you know
Sounds
who's going to be in
terrible.
it? Do you know who's going to be in it?
No, I don't. It was just something that popped up in my newsfeed the other day.
Is Will going to be the uncle? This is going to be a terrible show.
Yeah,
I
I'm not.
I doubt Will's going to be in it.
I seriously,
I doubt that.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
I
a good
doubt
idea
Will's
at
gonna
all.
be in it
But
at all.
yeah, I don't think it's a good idea at all. However, you know, I just brought it up as food for thought because I figured, you know, since we're all Fresh Prince fans in here, we would all have. I just thought it was imperative that everybody know if they hadn't already.
I did not know, so thank you for letting me know.
You're
To never
welcome.
watch it.
I was gonna say yes. You're welcome. I'm glad I could ruin your childhood. You're welcome.
I hate when they do remakes of shows that just don't need a remake.
Yep.
Like, it ended the way it ended. It
Yeah.
was beautiful. Let it go.
I'm almost
Ah,
afraid that
don't
they're
do
going to do New Jack City again.
Wait, why?
Ah,
Who said?
but sometimes
Who said that?
No, I'm just afraid because of all the remakes.
They'll remake New Jack City.
It's like they're
yeah.
running out of content and they just need to remake things. Just like movies.
but
They
sometimes
keep
it's
doing
not
remakes.
a remake; it's a reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the difference?
They already said
Ask
that
James
X-Men's going
and
under a
Bob.
reboot.
Reboot as in they just re-release it?
No, they recast it and rescript it.
That's
With the
literally
same
like
characters.
a remake.
Yeah.
How's that not a remake?
I don't know, but apparently there's a difference. I'm not sure which one there is.
Emily, what's the difference?
I don't really think there is one.
Okay.
Well, like a reboot, I would imagine, like you're saying, you're redoing everything, the look and the script and the way that the characters are developing. The remake is you're trying to adhere to how it was originally done. You want
Yeah, the
Oh.
reboot is not.
Like
But
keep-
that's what it is. The reboot is like the original, but kind of like modernized.
right,
That sounds terrible.
like
Like-
back to TMNT, Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2014 one. That was a reboot where they used CGI and they made these like strange nightmare-looking creatures as turtles.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that was a reboot, and that was not.
That scared
exactly-
children. I don't know if they realize that.
And also the
That's correct.
Ghostbusters, they're trying to make it like modern with this female
With
cast,
women.
which like great, but that's not the movie to do it in. The original was
Right.
fantastic. Let's keep it the way it was.
Well,
The only good thing about the
if they
movie
would have
was-
made it like it would, they were a different. They were a different. Cause remember, the whole thing about the first movie was that it was a franchise that they were opening. So if they had made it in a different city and said these are the girls they're gonna go forward with the Ghostbusters name and franchise in say Detroit or
Yeah,
or San Francisco or wherever.
that would have made more sense.
Yeah, that
would've
would've been-
I think
that
the
would've been
story,
better.
the
I
story
agree.
creation was a little mixed up on that one.
Yeah. Like trying to remake something that was already great. Like if someone tried to remake Harry Potter, oh my god, that would never fly.
I don't
Okay,
think
this
it would work.
says what the difference is between a reboot and a remake.
Oh, you
it
looked
says-
it up?
Yeah, it says reboots usually do not focus on retelling the same storyline from the source material as remakes do.
Yeah, nothing's
That's
changed.
true.
reboots
That's a
is
good
just-
point. That's a very good point. Yes.
Reboots is to capture the new generations.
Yeah, and remakes try to keep the canon, try to keep some of the original stuff intact.
Okay. So
Uh,
I guess reboots are worse than remakes, but they're still.
Yeah,
Oh, you know, there
They
is one
sell more
movie I
than
would love to see a remake for, even though the original was so good. Ghost. Remember that movie?
Of course.
Oh,
Of course.
No, that movie was
Um,
perfect. We can't really do a remake, but
Yeah,
it
I
would
don't
be
think-
nice to see that.
we're we're
Modern.
kind of talking about an interesting subject of lazy creation. It's kind of
Mhm.
being creatively lazy, whereas you could be making a whole new story. Yes, borrowing some of the skeletal structure and some of the development, but just owning an original idea. And we're
Mm.
also touching on some flaws that exist in the Hollywood dynamic altogether, and kind of like what agendas might be behind some of these remake, reboot ideas. Not so much that
Absolutely.
there are just lazy writers. There's plenty of great original stories out there. Lots of original content that like Amazon is buying up as exclusive new shows, and like some of these private industries are buying them up, but like they're keeping them away from the general public by buying them up in these privatized sectors. So like I feel like we're actually touching on a really interesting fact or facet of social engineering. And
I think
that
it's just that it all just comes down to money, right? Like a story made a shit ton of money back in the day. Now you're going to try to capture the old audience who loves it, and now you're going to try to bring it up to some kind of current standard and get a new audience, and maybe the sons and the sons and fathers, or the generations will go to the theater together, or it's just trying to capitalize, really.
And
That's what a
actually-
reboot is.
This is why Silent Bob now communicates with emojis.
It's funny, but it's interesting. I'm not inherently against the idea of a remake in principle. And especially after I found out, do you guys all know the classic movie, The Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart? Does anybody else here know that?
I know of it.
Okay. I recently found out that version, which is considered one of the greatest films of all time, and it is, was actually the third filmed version of the book. So when I found that out, it made me realize, wait, sometimes it does take more than one try to get it right. So
Like anything else in life?
right. So I'm not innately averse to the idea of remakes, but I do think that you have to have a good, it's, it's whatever. If you want to do it to make some money, I guess you can do that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be better or mean anything more than the previous version did. So
and then basically sometimes you get a great story, right?
Yeah.
You get a great story, and there are different people who want to tell the craft with their skill set.
Right.
For instance, one of the greatest movies ever done, I think personally, or the greatest stories version of a particular story ever done, was Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I actually like that quite a bit myself.
The original Dracula?
Wow. Okay.
But Dracula's been told 50 million times.
Yeah, it has.
He's never scary. That's the problem.
Definitely not the original.
But Bram Stoker's Dracula was terrifying. You were actually scared of Dracula.
Wait, which version? I have to go look.
The Bram Stoker's with Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Oh, I love Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's an amazing actor.
Yes, he is.
You know what was good that came out? There was something that came out in maybe like a handful of years ago, like the telling of Nosferatu. Was that
Shadow of the Bat or something like that.
Shadow of the Vampire.
What was
Shadow of the Vampire?
What was the actor?
That was a great one.
Willem Dafoe played.
William Dafoe, which is one of the better actors. Period.
He was really good in that role. He was really, really good in that role.
Yep.
I remember when I was a kid, Willem Dafoe ruled HBO.
Oh yeah.
He was in every movie that came on HBO.
You know what?
Well, I remember they used to.
I don't know. I didn't have HBO.
They used to play Platoon a lot on HBO, but what else did they do?
Well, you know what I remember is Michael. What's his name? I forgot. I just remember.
Ironside?
No, not Ironside, but that's a good one too. Michael.
Rappaport?
Keaton?
No. Is it Keaton? No, not Michael Keaton. But Michael Keaton was in a lot of movies in the 80s too.
He was in a lot of movies too.
He's in one of my favorite movies.
Which is?
Batman.
Okay, I was gonna say like.
You know, he did an awesome Birdman. Did you see that one?
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Birdman was great.
Are you done or are you finished? Wasn't that Birdman's signature line like, "Are you done or are you finished"?
Yeah, are you done or are you finished?
Yes.
I'll take the case.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
Birdman, that was a great movie.
Yep.
Oh, wait, that Birdman. Oh.
Were you thinking of the rapper Birdman?
No, I thought
No,
You were thinking of Cash Money.
Well, no, you said Birdman, and then I'm trying to remember Michael Keaton saying that, and I remember that Birdman actually did say that. Are you saying Birdman got it from Michael Keaton?
No, he
Not that
played
I'm
in
aware
a
of.
movie called Birdman.
No, yeah, I know, but that phrase she said was Birdman's phrase from Cash Money. Are you done
Was
or
it?
are you finished? Yeah, that was like a huge meme.
I
Oh
thought
wow.
it was Birdman it came from Birdman the comic though.
No, Birdman the mogul was like when he stormed out of the interview with
Yeah, you're right. On
whatchamacallit, he was
Breakfast
like,
Club.
"Are we done or are we finished?"
Yeah, that was
People
on
were making
Breakfast
fun of
Club.
him because that like
That was
Oh,
that
man,
was
I
when he
always-
started saying, "Put the respect on my name."
exactly.
I always
exactly.
thought when
Yeah,
people
I
said
remember.
Birdman
You're right,
said
you
that
did.
that it was Birdman the comic book character.
No, and everybody just agreed with you. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute, that's not. I don't remember Michael Keaton
Right, that was Cash
delivering
Money.
that phrase. Yeah,
I mean,
like
it would be
the,
funny if he did, but
I like the Harvey
That'd be
Birdman
hilarious.
Attorney at Law Adult Swim cartoon.
Oh my
thing.
God, that's right. Yes, that's really funny. That's
That's
Yeah,
really
that was
funny.
good.
That's funny that Damien just
My
brought that
favorite
up.
though
Yeah.
is Adventure Brothers. That has to be the funniest cartoon I've ever seen besides Futurama.
You know, they touched a lot of interesting subject matter in the Venture Brothers. I have to say,
Mhm.
like that when I was reviewing some of the cartoons too. I mean, they touched stuff that society doesn't even want to bring a 10-foot pole to. And you know, a couple of things. Maybe that's a whole other episode, really diving into some of those things. But even a funny thing was on a premiere episode, they brought David Bowie kind of back to life,
Yes,
and they made him
as a bad guy.
Yeah, they made him the super top bad guy of all bad guys, though. And not only that, but he was a vampire, and he had all these specialties to him, and like it was like a bad guy that you could understand why he was a bad guy. You know, it was like one of those weird moments with like, well, we live in a villainous society, so this was the thing that made sense. And it was
Well,
like
space-
society kind of turned him into that a little.
Well, Space Ghost Coast to Coast was kind of the start of that wave.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
That was like the start of that whole wave.
Yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
then Brack got his own show.
Brack,
Yeah,
Red.
that was-
Brack
that was
wasn't as
pretty
funny
hilarious.
though without
Yeah,
Space
no.
Ghost.
Yeah,
He
Brack
was pretty
good
funny
on
though. He was pretty
Ghost.
funny. Yeah, I guess not as funny, but still
Space
pretty good.
Ghost. Oh my God, that takes me back.
Yeah, right.
Did
That's
anyone used to watch the original Space Ghost before they
Yes.
started into a comedy?
Yes.
Yeah, those were the cartoons. We had the best cartoons in the '80s and
That's right.
and
when
the
they
early
actually
'90s
gave
too.
them on Saturday mornings.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
had Brave
To the
Star.
early
We had
90s. If you kind of look at it, you kind of look at it like hip hop and cartoons kind of had the same wavelength, like
Same golden era.
80s,
Yeah,
and then yeah, exactly 80s, and then to the early 90s,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then kind of like
I mean,
Right on,
look
right
at
on.
Samurai Jack. That's a perfect example.
Oh
That's a
my
mesh
God,
of original
Samurai
mesh of
Jack.
hip hop and cartoons.
That one was kind of like it was a little goofy, but it was also kind of intense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
It was
Samurai Jack.
real. Oh my, yeah.
They actually
You know what
brought
the
up-
key to Samurai
cult
Jack
classic.
was? The key main character was cool, yeah, but the villain was so much cooler.
Apu.
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I
Yeah.
was thinking Afro Samurai. I was thinking something totally different.
Yeah,
That
You
was
think
a little bit
Afro
later.
Samurai?
Yeah, that was a little bit later.
Afro Samurai was good too.
Oh yeah,
was the
no,
RZA.
by
That
far
was the-
awesome.
That was
Samurai
the RZA
Jack,
one, right?
Yeah.
Samurai Jack was neat because it also brought up subjects of automation, and it brought up the subject of what do we do in a distant future that is automated and run by robots. That's some of his first enemies
Oh,
are.
I
if
don't
you
think
remember,
that's so distant
robot
anymore.
beetles.
Yeah.
And I felt like as a kid, when I was seeing that, it made me a little nervous. I was like, that's kind of interesting. If the software or the programming on these robots is done by people who do not have society's best interest in mind, we may be facing some serious struggles. Where I felt like Samurai Jack really represented some old school family values like honor and discipline and respect, and he maintained those through. Even in moments where some of his adversaries would drag him into situations to try and get him to engage in dishonorable conduct, and he wouldn't. Or perhaps the funniest version of that is the Scotsman, when he goes up against the Scotsman who is talking slurs to him, actually very real Scottish slurs. Like if you actually listen to some of the stuff, it's actually very offensive. Some stuff that might not fly on TV today.
Okay.
Making even rice comments and things about him, and like all sorts of.
So Jack is supposed to be Japanese. He's not a white guy.
Correct.
He
Samurai
seems
Jack.
like a Japanese guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
just-
he gets thrown, into the future where Aku is all powerful,
Okay.
but he maintains some core principles that the future lost, and he shares family values with each of the communities he goes to. So there's like this really good message that kind of gets carried over episode to episode. It gets a little lost in some of the high action sequences, but for the most part, that's like a cartoon I can go back today and still watch and enjoy, and something that I would show to, like, if I had kids or if I was babysitting or watching kids, I'd say, oh, hey, check out this old cartoon. It's got great music, great animation, and a great message. And I feel like
I would if I were babysitting, I would get the approval of the kids' parents.
Oh, yeah,
first.
yeah,
But for
yeah.
my
I
own
was
kids,
gonna
but for
say.
my own kids, I
Yeah,
think
you
I would
definitely wouldn't
too.
do that.
Yes.
They're
Right,
a little.
right,
It's a
right.
little violent for the younger set, but
okay,
yeah.
right. I didn't set an age. You're right. It's
Yeah.
an Adult Swim deal.
Funny story. I'm babysitting for a relative.
Do we need to pause?
No.
Just checking.
No, not like that story. I'm babysitting for a relative, right? And so I was out of town. I wasn't familiar with the cable network channels, so I'm just scrolling through trying to find some type of animation, right? So I
Oh
find something,
no.
Oh no, this story's gonna go bad, isn't it, Katie?
not knowing what the channel was. I just saw animation and I just let it play.
It was
Okay.
porn.
Let him go.
No, it wasn't not porn. But I probably would have felt better if it was porn, because I could have just
Oh,
said,
Lord.
hey, that's, explain that. This I could not explain.
Oh no. What
This
what
was
was
a
it?
show called Wonder Chosen.
Oh, Wonder
I remember.
Chosen. That brings it back.
What is it called?
Wonder
Wonder
Chosen.
I actually have the DVDs for that, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, interesting.
Wonder Chosen.
I looked at the TV and Dick Gregory was the son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, okay, this could be educational. Dick
Yeah.
Gregory's he's a good person.
Yeah.
And then when the animation started, oh my gosh.
You gotta remind me what some of that was. There a lot of bright flashing on that show? What was?
Man, it was everything. Bigotry.
I don't think I remember this show. What's this called?
Wasn't the little fat white kid rapping on that show?
Yeah, it was a kid's show. It was made up just like a kid's show, but the content
wasn't.
just wasn't kid
Yeah.
stuff.
This is like some original Adult Swim kind of thing.
Yeah. It was like,
See,
It
this
wasn't
is,
meant
He's
for
holding
children.
it up. He's
I
holding it
found
up.
out I was watching Adult Swim.
yeah, this is the DVD cover, so you
So-
can imagine
Yeah, that's
if
it.
you
That's
saw
it.
this, you might think, okay, not so bad.
Yeah.
And there's really only 8 episodes to this whole thing, okay? But let me just read the titles of the episodes real quick. Episode 1, Birth. Episode 2, Space. Episode 3, Ocean. All right, so the first 3, okay, these are not so bad. They're a little edgy, hard to explain to kids. But episode 4, this is where they really wanted to stop making these shows. Like, please cancel us. They do an episode on diversity. And their episode
Okay.
on diversity starts off with a conflict between letters and numbers. And the letter J and the letter 8, the number 8 and the letter J end up having a male-to-male homosexual love affair with each other. Great war. And the
Wow.
What is this,
I
like,
always say
dirty
that J
Sesame
is
Street?
funny.
And the number 8 ends up representing a lot of religious principles relative to Muslim culture. And
Oh
the
my God.
letter J ends up representing a lot of religious facets of Jewish culture. So
Okay.
you have a homosexual
Lord
Jewish
have mercy.
Muslim letter and number share a love affair. And the end of the episode, to spoil it for you, because good luck finding this episode anywheres, but the number 8 ends up tricking the letter J into a Romeo and Juliet death sequence, where the letter J drinks the poison and the number 8 doesn't. And he says, haha, I tricked you with the oldest trick in the book, love. and then the episode
Oh.
ends where numbers are schmata than letters. And it's like, it's interesting to have to explain something like that.
Oh my God, I can't imagine why anyone would find that controversial.
It's
I feel like just listening to that description makes me feel like I'm high.
Well, listen to this. Listen to
So you
this
could imagine
description.
how I felt watching it with kids. Like,
Listen to
Oh
this
yeah, that must have been
description.
hard.
Were you high?
Listen to
What
this
was the name of the? I'm
description
sorry.
the
Can
show.
you please tell me the name of the show again, really
Wonder
quickly?
Wonder Chosen.
Wonder Chosen.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Wonder Chosen contains offensive, despicable content that is too controversial and too awesome for actual children. The stark, ugly, and profound truths Wonder Chosen exposes may be soul-crushing to the weak of spirit. If you allow a child to watch this show, you are a bad parent or guardian.
That reminds me of the show Happy Tree Friends. Have you ever?
Oh my
have you
God,
ever
with the
seen that
crazy
show?
psychos.
Yeah.
I love
And
that
yet
show.
TV is still allowed to have children.
Does anyone remember the show where there was like a nuclear explosion outside and these characters have been inside just kind of hanging out talking to each other and they don't really realize it until one of them kind of like wanders outside? It's like this really strange kind of show where like at one point they're like one of the characters goes awkward.
Oh crap! I know what you're talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about? It was big in like the mid to later 2000s. I feel like it was like this paper. I feel like they were like the animation was weird, like paper cutout.
South Park.
No, it wasn't. It was never that big. It was never that big.
Man,
Are you looking it up?
I just remember when I was a kid. When I was a kid, we left my grandparents. Like my parents took me somewhere and left my grandparents at home babysitting my brother. And we got home and they're all like sitting in front of the TV watching Beavis and Butthead. And my grandparents are like sitting there like, well, gee, these guys are awfully funny, aren't they? And we're looking at each other like, what is going on here? We should not have left. And I love Beavis and Butthead, but like, but just the thought of my grandparents watching, of my like Bible thumping grandparents thinking Beavis and Butthead was funny was enough to make me think that their hearing was going.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's just no accounting for taste, I guess. But
No, I legit think they couldn't hear.
yeah,
Consider also like where they were coming from. They probably grew up with that as like an edgy thing, like thinking about Metallica and thinking about like, you know, the kids with that mentality, like
I don't think Metallica existed for my grandparents.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like to them it was like this kind of fascinating thing. It was like this great fantasy, but to people in our generation it's like, well, we actually met people that were kind of like that sometimes, and they were not the best people oftentimes too. I mean, one Beavis and Butthead episode, you got them trying to saw off the tweeter of a grasshopper with a chainsaw, like using the neighbor's chainsaw. So, you know, we're like thinking to ourselves, okay, that's not a good idea. That's a bad influence. But like someone who's like, you would never do that. Like no one's high enough or stupid enough to try and, you know, let alone torture an insect, but with a chainsaw, it's ridiculous. So to them, it was probably shocking funny, you know, like, wow, what? No
Yeah,
way.
that's kind of true.
But to us, like, we might know people that were like puffing glue or something, or doing dust off or something crazy that like might conceive of that as like a good idea one day to try.
What about that children's show from the 70s, the Huff and Puff show? I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
No, I don't
it
know.
wasn't. It wasn't until I was,
HR
Puff the Magic Dragon.
H&R Puff and
Puff
stuff.
and stuff,
right?
yes.
yeah. It wasn't until I was much older that I realized that Beavis and Butthead was supposed to be satire, and that Mike Judge was working on a level that went over a lot of our heads at that age.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, it's great. That's great satire.
You know what? One of my favorite episodes was of Beavis and Butthead was the one where they. Did anyone see the one where they got struck by lightning?
yes.
Oh yeah, I've seen every episode.
At the one where they got struck by lightning, and they have some lady from like the Media Matters like conservative moms group come in to try to find out what they were watching on TV right before they got struck by lightning. And
Mm-hmm.
it turned out that they were watching some PBS documentary on Benjamin Franklin, and decided that they wanted to like tie the key to the kite and try to run out in the lightning, and then they got struck. And then they were like, we were watching this guy, who had long gray hair.
Yes.
And-
Exactly.
And they look in the TV. So the lady looks at the TV guide to see what programs they were giving the night before, and
Yes.
and
Yeah. There we go.
and she was basically, she saw that they gave the Ben Franklin and was like, no, that couldn't be it. Like, must have been Howard Stern. And it was kind of like making fun. I think like Mike Judge in that episode was trying to like satirize like how people were censoring him,
Probably.
saying that he was causing people to do stupid stuff.
Right, but history is filled with plenty of stupid stuff that we evolved.
Mm-hmm.
But they were satirizing the idea, but he was satirizing the idea that when kids did something stupid because they saw it on TV, that everyone automatically assumes that they saw it on like MTV or something, when
I remember
they
when
could have really seen it on PBS.
when this kid burned down his trailer park and left his family homeless, they actually stopped saying the word fire all the time.
Yeah, they were
Beavis.
prohibited from talking about fire after that because the kid.
So
actually
they
lit his
made an
house on
episode
fire.
called Water or something like that. They were watching
Yeah.
videos of with water in it.
Oh, poor Beavis. He must have been miserable.
Totally miserable.
Yeah, that's really. Oh God, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah.
Wasn't there like a reference to the Chicago fire too, or something? There was something weird about that. I don't know if I'm mixing some of my studies up.
Why
I don't
was the
remember,
fire-
but
Why was the fire on Beavis and why was the fire in that episode started by a cow?
I don't know. It's just something that just popped in my
No,
head.
it was
now
started
we're
by
talking about the
Beavis.
fire.
Right, of
Chicago
course.
fire was a pretty big deal, and
Yep.
I feel like there was something referenced there. A lot of weird information was lost in that fire too, apparently.
Yep.
Curious subject to dive into maybe on another Zoom meeting.
Damn cow. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, but no, that's a very interesting thing, and but it is amazing. No, how real life events will cause ideas in art and in art and entertainment to be stalled because if the topic is so sensitive or fresh in people's minds from something terrible that just happened, they'll be like, okay, we can't. Excuse me. Talk about this now. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I think that, but also like just the idea of that, like, I don't know. I suppose it's because we're talking about kids, but like, I feel like Beavis and Butthead is a show that was meant for it. I feel like that was over the line almost for them to have to stop saying fire, because Beavis and Butthead is a show that's meant for adults.
Right.
Like, and adults kind of have the ability to separate between fantasy and reality and know that like you shouldn't actually do that. Whereas like kids don't necessarily do that. And
Yeah.
I mean, part of it was MTV's fault for airing them at 7:00 p.m. I'll give them that. But like part of it was, I mean, I don't want to victim blame, but part of it was the parents' fault for not watching what their kid was watching.
Well, I mean, in all, I don't know who I'm defending with this comment really, but truth be told, like I said, it was, you know, and especially if after once you've seen King of the Hill, it was meant to be satire. Like Beavis and Butthead was meant to be satire, but it was the satire. Like the thing is, it was played in a way so straight. You know, like to take these kids'
Oh, it seems
idiocy.
literal.
Yeah, to take these kids' idiocy at face value, it's almost one could be forgiven.
Well, Mike Judge said that he based the kids, the two Beavis and Butthead, on a pair of teens that he went to school with, high school.
I don't doubt that.
Oh, he did actually know people that stupid.
Right, and so one could be forgiven for thinking that they were, since their names were on the title of the show, so they were supposed to be like heroic, and we were supposed to emulate them, and you know, and in that way, you know, at that age, you know, even though anyone with half a brain would realize that, like, you know, they were behaving like idiots, and that was part of the humor. At the same time, it was kind of like, it recognized, like, it was a very accurate depiction of the way that some teenage male brains really do work. So it was,
or
like,
don't work, as the case may be.
Right,
Yeah,
or
don't work is more
but
like
it was like,
it.
but so like some of us recognized those impulses in ourselves, and that's why we often laughed so hard too. So
My favorite episode was the one with Todd in it. Remember Todd, their cool
Yes.
older friend who was a
Yeah.
complete delinquent?
Yeah.
mhm.
Oh yeah.
He was my favorite.
That's I don't remember. I don't think I remember that one quite as well.
They were completely in love. Like they would look at him, and little hearts you see would bump out because they were in love, and he would just abuse the hell out of them, and then throw them away and leave them like in the middle of the desert and stuff like that.
Oh, that's horrible. Honestly, I think the things that I probably remember most about that show were probably just them, like their critique of music videos. Like I would just like, they would like that was just the just the things that they would say. Or anytime, like, you know, anytime the person in the video was a woman with big boobs, and they would just go, like, you know, they would just turn. They were just complete Neanderthals. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was pretty
ridiculous.
good.
Yep. Or PJ Harvey, they'd be like, oh, this chick is weird. Or like,
I love PJ Harvey though.
I know, I love her too. She's the only person I've seen in concert twice. But
Sweet.
Oh, they said that about Tori Amos too.
I love Tori Amos as well.
Yeah.
I've seen her in concert 3 times.
Oh, I've never seen her in concert. Is she good?
You'd love it.
I'm
You'd
sure.
love it.
But like, you know what? Another one of my favorite episodes though was the one where they kept getting sent to the principal's office because they couldn't control their laughing in class.
Yep.
Yeah, the no laughing episode.
The no laughing episode, and then and then when McVicker realizes that they actually want to be suspended,
Mm-hmm.
he makes their punishment so that they can't laugh for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that just happens because it's Murphy's Law. That just happens to be the week that Buzzcut is teaching them sex ed. And
Yep.
So good. Yeah.
he's like, he gets right up in their faces and he's like, we're going to be talking about the penis. We're going to be talking about masturbation.
Yep.
Like,
Isn't there? Yeah.
Well,
wasn't, yeah.
I
The best
love
is
it.
them leaving the school after holding in their laughter and then just bursting out on the floor outside the school laughing from all of the laughter they held.
Yeah, and they were like hyperventilating from all the laughter they were holding.
We were like nearly passing out.
Right,
Yeah,
which I felt was like a cool message about laughter and the importance of experiencing laughter and letting the laughter out too. Though it was a crude show with some humor, that
Yeah.
felt like it was good. Let me pop
Now,
in.
how many people like the spin-off show Daria as well?
Oh,
Pretty good. Yeah, not bad.
yeah. That.
So I
that-
finally remembered the name of that show I was talking about. It was called
Look what I found from my
Paper
middle school
Rad.
days.
Does anyone remember that?
I'm
Paper
sorry,
Rad?
what you say, Flav?
Oh, I finally remembered the name of the show I was trying to think of. It was called Paper Rad.
Oh, I don't remember that show.
I put it in the.
Yeah, I don't think I know that one either. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird, cool show. You got to check it out.
Mm.
It's definitely for those of you who smoke. I think you have a good time appreciating it.
Oh yeah, this looks pretty cool.
Mm.
But it's a very in that weird 2000s era animation.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. Does anybody else remember the episode where I think Beavis has a seizure and Butthead goes to get medical help, but then he's like, what's the number for 911?
Oh, he was choking. That's what it was.
Choking
Oh,
on
he was choking?
chicken
Okay.
or nacho or something. Yeah,
He was choking, right? He was choking. He's like, what's the number for 911?
choking on nacho.
Or the one where they were prank calling the guy named Harry Sachs over and over again, and he finally gets mad at them and like calls them and tells them they want a free pizza and asks what their address is, and they gave him Stewart's address.
Yep.
The guy went and beat up Stewart's dad.
Or the episode where they forget how to go to the bathroom without pulling their shorts down. There are like so many okay. So anyway, I feel
like
we've made the point.
So much better like as an adult though than it was like when it was actually on, because like I just didn't get it when it was actually on because I wasn't old enough to. Like the same thing with South Park. Like
oh my god,
the first couple seasons of South Park, like I was still in middle school for that. Like I just didn't get it at the time, and like and then when I rewatched them as an adult, I was just like, oh my god, that's great.
Yeah. I got South Park pretty quickly. Oh, I am a couple of years older than you though. That's why I think that might be why.
Do you remember Ren and Stimpy?
Yes, the precursor to Square Bob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be quiet, you idiot.
I kind of feel like it's a precursor to Beavis and Butthead too.
Well, you know, it's funny you bring SpongeBob up with that because Ren and Stimpy had this funny review. Like people complained about it being canceled, and one of the reasons was because Ren and Stimpy had these very detailed close-ups. Like they would zoom in on stuff and show a lot of like disturbing, grotesque images. But
Pimples
SpongeBob ends up
things like
doing
that.
the same thing. So
what'd you say?
SpongeBob ends up doing those same zoom-ins. They just
Same company, that's why.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So it was interesting because the problem was Ren and Stimpy would do it with like actual humans. They would like show actual people and like not actual, like they're still cartoon animated, but like specifically
like
an episode,
pimples and warts and all sorts of other like
If they could add hair to it, they loved it.
Right. But so SpongeBob ends up doing similar stuff, but it's always with a fish or a sponge or a starfish or it's something under the sea. So they got away with a lot more stuff like that. But still, it was funny to see that as a complaint for subliminal messaging and they said something about it creating a self-conscious problem. I don't know. I can't remember the exact word they used as to why.
Self-esteem problem.
I don't know. But it was just weird because the argument was that they had an issue with it, and then people brought up SpongeBob. So they actually rebooted Ren and Stimpy on MTV, I think it was. And
oh yeah, I vaguely remember
they did
that.
one episode, totally different animators, and they really emphasized the relationship between Ren and Stimpy, which many people ended up complaining about and rejecting the new version because they felt that there was too much of an emphasis on the intimate relationship between Ren and Stimpy, which disturbed people because of the homosexual context that they could not accept in their everyday home life.
You know what no one ever complained about was He-Man. If you go back and watch He-Man, it's the most homoerotic thing you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
People just didn't get it.
Yeah. It's like really, you should check it
of
out.
course. He portrays both top and bottom as Adam and the Prince of Eternia.
Never got into it that deep. I just know that there's a lot of references to his sword, and I don't know. I have to remember watching it. As an adult was just way different than watching it as a kid.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, Listen, I think that the fact that I preferred She-Ra to He-Man as a kid was probably still an early giveaway when I was a kid that, you know, I would end up, you know, being like, that was probably a good early sign in
Being of an
indicator
alternative
of my
lifestyle.
orientation. However, I did not realize how homoerotic like He-Man was, probably because I preferred She-Ra. But yeah, that's still really.
I'll tell you though, I really much preferred the bad guy in She-Ra to the bad guy in Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yeah,
bad
what
guy.
was the bad guy's name in She-Ra again?
I forget, but he had such cool lines and a cool voice.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
She always had to defend Castle Grayskull. But I always was like, remember like her transformation sequence, like from being the princess to like this badass warrior, and I was like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? So I should.
Did you see the new show with She-Ra in it on Netflix?
There's a new I must have forgotten all about it. Maybe I blocked it out because I was like, please don't destroy my childhood. But
Oh,
No, it's
good?
quite good.
It's called She-Ra. It's called
Please
She-Ra,
don't
right?
ruin my
It's called
childhood.
She-Ra, Princess of Power.
Okay, I'm gonna go silent for about 2 minutes.
You gotta check it out.
Relive your childhood. That's cool. It's okay
I'll be
with
right
me.
back.
Netflix has a new show called Power.
Oh
Oh,
yes,
I saw that
with the superpowers that you get from
Yeah.
the drugs.
for 5
on the
minutes.
pill. Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx. I watched that today. It was dope.
Yo, that was a great movie.
It was surprise. I just heard about it and then I just watched it, and it was great.
I didn't even know Jamie Foxx was in the movie until
Yeah.
I seen it. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's Fox.
Yeah, that was a dope.
And then I
movie.
started paying attention to it because at first I was like, this is going to be some little,
Right.
fantasy movie.
Right. Yo, that girl too. That girl. I hope I see her in a lot of things. She was
she did
great.
a good job.
She was
What
great
girl?
in this movie we're talking about.
No, I mean, what's her name? Does she have a
Oh,
name?
we don't
I don't
know
know what her
names.
name
We just watch movies. We don't know names. Come on.
I
You
can
should've
tell you
known
what
that
The
her
movie with no
name
name.
was.
Actors don't have names. They're always the character.
Yeah,
Boy,
we
now
never-
you're talking like a director.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
never know.
okay,
we never know.
Yeah,
names.
right, Emily?
I just
Hang on, I'm sorry. I lost track for a second. Really quickly before I go back to this, what was the name of what were we trying to figure out? Because I can pull this out. Just let me know what the name of who, the name of what. I can get this.
It's called Power Project, right? Is that what it's called?
Power Project, right.
Power Project, and it's the lead actress's name.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I never heard of it. I really need to. Wow.
It just came out on Netflix today.
That's
I believe
well then that's why I don't. Okay, that's why I don't know. All right.
Don't feel too bad about yourself yet.
I don't. All right. Hang on a second. I have to go back on mute for 1 sec.
Back to She-Ra.
Damien, did you send these as other examples of paper rad, or were you looking this up too, or?
Oh, I sent a Paper Red Super Mario movie thing I was watching on the side. I thought it was fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Did anybody notice that the Super Mario movie was kind of cyberpunk?
that live action one you're saying?
The live action one, yeah.
Yeah,
When
that
did
was
it?
pretty good.
Wait, when? Which one?
The
90s
one with John Leguizamo and
okay.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if I actually sat down and watched that all the way through, or if I did, I feel like I only watched it once. Is it
And
worth
also had,
rewatching again?
It was a reboot, so they kind of did everything. They kept a few funny canon references, but not really
Wait,
like.
a reboot from what?
Well, they took the idea of Mario, then they brought it to a live action world, but they tried to like.
Well, that's
make
not a
it-
that's not a reboot. That's the first time that they made a movie out of it.
Right. Well, to say they reboot there was a cartoon Super Mario. There was a Super Mario cartoon that used to exist. That was really good. I used to watch that in the mornings. I liked that a lot. But this movie is like of a totally different beast. Like Raul was saying, it's like a cyberpunk, steampunk kind of world a little bit.
Yeah.
And like Yoshi is like an actual baby raptor, like it's an actual dinosaur, and like the red flower that shoots fireballs is like a human wearing a red suit with like jetpack shoes, and there's like weird little things like.
Does it stand up for adult watching pleasure?
I don't know. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I
You
just
have to
remember thinking
like-
years later, like, oh my God, it's a cyberpunk film.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to like the Super Mario World culture stuff. I played a lot of Super Mario World video games growing up with my mom, and my mom and I would stay up late, fighting through
No,
the
I think
levels.
our whole generation did.
Yeah, I
our
think
whole
that's
generation
that's
did.
a
But
touchstone for our
you're either
generation.
gonna love it for nostalgia's sake, or you're gonna be like, this was a rough job that I could have only loved as a kid.
Right, yeah. Like, it's funny, like, John Leguizamo's Luigi is, like, kind of funny, kind of like, oh, I don't know. But who else would you cast? It's such weird. And, like, the Goombas aren't, like, little, like, mushroom-headed things. They're, like, big-bodied, tiny-headed things. Like, they played with a lot of the, like,
Yeah.
what you would have expected.
Sure.
And they threw curveballs. Every pitch was a curveball, basically.
Yeah.
And you had to kind of let it sink in to be like, oh, those are the Goombas, or oh, that was Yoshi. Like, you don't really get it right away.
And what's
Right.
interesting is that the world, I remember this particularly, the world was based on electricity, not fossil fuels, because
Okay.
their world didn't have dinosaurs to be crushed down by sediment and stuff, turned
Right.
into oil and natural gas.
Okay.
And also their world was like being overrun or being stabilized by this really strange fungus that was growing like all
Right.
throughout the world. And they actually have a moment where they go through this like underground area and they end up getting stuck in it. And it's like a little bit of a reference to like, oh, in Mario you get the mushrooms and they give you, an extra power or a one-up. They don't really get a power or a one-up necessarily from the mushrooms. But what I really like about it is later on in life, when I'm starting to look into the mushroom kingdom and learn more about mushrooms and the role that they play in the planet, that actually having more mushrooms and fungus colonies growing could help balance things out, like even filtering carbon levels in the air and in the water. Specifically, a mushroom called the Agarikon mushroom, which if grown along coastlines, can begin to alter some of the ocean acidification effects and create
Ooh.
a more sustainable environment for things like coral to come back. It's actually really fascinating to think that like us occupying coastal land as a high real estate value and frequenting as people, we're actually kind of upsetting what may have naturally grown in some of those areas, like the Agarikon mushrooms. And I might add just one other mushroom thing that's really interesting to think about is some mushrooms, as they form colonies that are allowed to grow undisturbed, end up creating a kind of spore-like environment in the air that's still breathable by humans and other animals, but it outgasses certain things like chlorine or other biochemical weapons. So a like area filled with all these different mushroom colonies that are allowed to grow could actually end up being a defense against biochemical warfare and maybe even fight against certain bacterial or
Diseases?
infections or germs or vectors for viruses that may depend on
Ooh.
things in the air. So mushrooms are a very beautiful field to study. Mycology would be the study. Paul
Yeah.
Stamens
Yep.
is a good reference for someone who is pretty entrenched in the field. And I
To be
recommend
honest, I just
people-
find them delicious.
Yeah.
Completely delicious.
Yeah, and they a lot of people like using oyster mushrooms for like to use as like a vegan version of like fried chicken.
Mhm.
I like
that a lot.
portobello mushrooms as steak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do
portobello,
I, actually.
Cremelli oyster. Cremelli is a great mushroom that was known to affect some cancer level issues. Portobello, shiitake, portobello, cremelli, and oyster.
Shiitake's
Those
great too.
yeah, those are great eating
Cooking
mushrooms.
for cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Once again,
protein
another
sources.
example of the best medicine coming from the earth.
What's
Well,
that?
who's really surprised about that? Really? I mean, we were here for a long time before we had industrial medicine, and things had to have evolved and changed along with us on our journey.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I very firmly believe that, like, cannabis prohibition is a result of the corporations.
Well, it's a result of two corporations in general: the alcohol industry and the tobacco industry. Tobacco is the weirdest one of all because you'd figure they'd just co-op. They wouldn't even fight. But they could make so much money if they just supported and co-opted it. But
Well, I think some of them are. Some of them
yeah,
are
of course. Now they are now.
Yeah.
But before the ones in the 60s and 70s, the reason the whole war on drugs became is because their lobbyists went after it hardcore and went after anybody being quote unquote soft on drugs. Their lobbyists went after it and primaried them out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cynthia promised that we wouldn't talk politics. I'll keep to that. I hear you, Cynthia, giggling behind
No,
your.
Cynthia's on mute. I was laughing.
Oh, I see. I thought it was Cynthia's giggling.
No, I'm off mute now. I was watching a video.
So, Princess of Power, She-Ra.
Cynthia is the Princess of Power.
What does that mean?
It means you're She-Ra.
She's watching Wonder shows.
Oh, really?
I need to watch that show now that I know about it.
Yeah. Good luck finding it. That's the.
I can't Google it?
You can find it on YouTube.
I doubt it.
You
Okay.
can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube has
Oh, you
everything.
can? Okay.
Yeah, YouTube has everything.
That's good. That's good. Last time I was checking for episodes, they were missing, and I was fortunate enough to have the DVD content and some access to that. Though, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It's good. It's definitely worth finding out.
Wonder shows.
There are some like what we might call like woke tropes. I don't know if that's really the word for it, but in the 5th episode about nature, there are some really interesting concepts they put out about how we have nurtured nature into something that is not natural, and that they make a couple of references that get you asking some questions about, what kind of long-term impacts we have on the world. I happen to really like that episode in particular. There's actually even some references that touch on the racial war and the gender war in that episode specifically that I think are worth reviewing, just because it kind of shows a point in history where comedy is trying to reach out to people and start giving them a language that they can use to kind of like ask good questions.
Like the Daily Show did with politics.
The Daily Show did, yes, use a lot of comedy to present some questions. John Oliver does this too a bit.
With This Week with John Oliver.
Well,
awesome.
Personally, I get my news from Comedy Central and my comedy from Fox News, so there you go.
Yeah. George Carlin had some great news to share with people.
Oh my God, George Carlin, I miss him so much.
Greatest.
Yeah.
I miss him so much.
I don't think they can do the next Wild Stallion installment. The next, I don't think they can do it without him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Right. So it's Bill and Ted Face the Music. Is there a new term for it? I'm still gonna watch it. I support that.
Sure.
Think
I do it because I love Keanu. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah. I was really impressed that they agreed to do this. I thought they'd be like, no, we can't do this. It's been too long. The actors have changed. But they give them a whole take that focuses on family values a little bit. And when I watched the coming attractions to it, I said, you know what, this could be something really good because the first.
Really?
Yeah, well, because they have kids. So what happens is the trailer shows that like Bill and Ted have to face the music and kind of speak to some of these the most excellent and bogus journeys. The two first movies put them through some wild stories like, oh, we traveled through time, oh, we went through hell, and now we're here, we saved the future. But like they're actually challenged a little bit in what the trailer shows, where a psychologist that they see is trying to tell them it was not real. They made it all up. And they either have to prove that it's true through this whole Face the Music episode, movie, or ultimately kind of give up on it and say, you know what, maybe it's not, and we should just, live normal lives like normal people. Clearly, normality is put to question as well, but it did seem to leave off with some family values about what it means to, talk to your kids about your dreams and living your dreams and facing reality and looking at things for what they really are and not
I
what
thought
you
you were
want
going
them
to
to
say
be.
talk to your kids about drugs.
Yeah, no, I mean that I'm sure that they touch on something there too. I feel a bit too with it is that with the whole Face the Music title, that there's got to be some kind of little sublimations there dealing with some of these mixed truths that or mixed information, I say, that we're being inundated with through the media, dealing with politics and dealing with social engineering methods that leave our values neglected. And I feel like in this whole Face the Music concept, that they're going to be giving us some social tools to ask questions about how we may have accepted some of these things that may not have been the best for our families and our communities.
Hey,
So
was
I have a lot of good hope and love for that.
Andy Milonakis in Wonder Chosen?
You know what? Yeah, he did make an appearance, I believe. He is featured in the DVD. There's like a
Okay.
picture of him advertising for one of his shows in here too.
Okay.
I would actually show you more content from it, but some of it is like very disturbing. But you can see like Andy Milonakis here, just right in the front cover thing. Yeah, he was, he was young too. I think he was just barely kind of starting out a little bit, and this is one of the things that gave him a leg in. It's I don't know.
Did he do the act? Was he on the Axe Kids segment?
Well, the Beat Kids, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, the Beat Kids.
Yeah, the Beat Kids on the Street. I'll tell you, they had a really great Beat Kids on the Street in Wall Street, and they had
that was great.
Yeah, that was really well done. Where this girl goes in and is asking these Wall Street businessmen questions that they have a hard time answering, having to do with family values that are neglected and communities that are being destroyed by Wall Street. If the Occupy Wall Street movement watched Wonder Chosen, they would have had a lot more questions to pose as a collective instead of some mixed messages that got lost in that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Beat Kids was a good take in some of the stuff.
Someone's got some. Someone sounds like they have something on in the background.
Sam, perhaps?
Sorry.
I had the AC on. I just turned it off.
Oh no,
Sorry.
it's not. It's not that. It's
Katie, okay.
It was me. It was me. Sorry.
Shame
I put it
on
on.
you, Sam.
Mhm.
What are you watching?
Well, we don't.
Shame on you. Why don't you share?
Well, I would say it, but Cynthia said no politics, so
Oh God, is it news?
No, it's actually not news, but it is something that would spark a political discussion. So I'm going to abstain.
Fuck! Now I'm interested. What is it?
He even uses political language to describe it.
Plead the
Fine. Okay, so what happened was I switched from Netflix back to Hulu, and then you know how sometimes Hulu will just, when you switch into live TV, it will just pick a random channel sometimes?
Did it pick Fox News?
No. It was on HBO, and Bill Maher is on, and right now he's talking to Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang. So...
okay.
I like Andrew Yang a lot.
I like them both.
I like Andrew Yang too.
I like them both. So...
Well,
and why are they not on the ticket?
I didn't know how I felt about Pete because I didn't know how to pronounce his last name.
Are you fucking
That's
serious?
fair. That's fair. You
Like
know,
every
funny
time I
enough,
seen it written, I couldn't say his name.
Well, you know what's funny? I feel like you should know how to say it because it's like, think of like be the judge, but instead it's like Buddha judge. So it's like how good is the weed? Well, ask the Buddha judge.
That's funny.
See,
I don't
if he
call
had
that
said
man
that,
Bouvier, all
if he had
types
said
of
that on his campaign trail, he might still be on the ticket. He might have got the
Yeah,
young vote.
sure.
Vote for the Buddha judge.
That's funny.
Yeah, and then that actually is an interesting political discussion. Some of this stuff on their platforms,
Which is why I didn't want to say anything.
I really love the Yang Gang math slogan, where it was just math, and we just want to put numbers in place to kind of speak a great truth, which I felt paired with some of Bernie Sanders' some of his language and some of his context. So putting
Hey,
like,
Yang just didn't have enough substance. He was kind
Right.
of just like, he had the one. He kind of what do you call him? He was kind
One
of
issue voter.
one trick
candidate.
one trick pony.
One trick pony.
but
Yeah.
he came forth talking about some of the complex issues of automation that we're gonna, we're not hearing about, but we're gonna be seeing develop rapidly around us. In fact, I have links to some court case information having to do with some abuses of technology that came up in 2018 and recently got freezed in court due to some of the COVID restrictions and court movements, and also now got pushed back behind other dockets that are taking a priority. And it's actually kind of an interesting thing to try and follow, is the use of AI, or I'll call it inorganic intelligence, and how it is being abused in some of what I keep mentioning as social engineering methods, and some of these things called biometrics that we're seeing more of. Some of you have it on your phones to unlock your phones. Actually, my mom
Face
pointed
ID.
out recently today that it's been damaging her eyes. Every time she has to set it up to do her
Really?
eyes and get the biometrics, it keeps damaging her, and she's finding it very painful. She has some hypersensitivities. This ties into some other studies about neurasthenia and some things having to do with porphyrins. But again, this could be another subject matter. But I do like that Andrew Yang brought it up, because he is probably
We
the
need to
only
make a
person
list
I
of
heard
future subject
mention.
matters.
Yeah.
What?
I said we need to make a list of future subject matters.
I can't hear your microphone. Sorry.
To the list of
A list of future subjects.
future subject matter.
Because we keep saying, like, well, this is a lot of things we could get into, and yada, yada, yada. Like, we need a secretary.
I actually write little notes on the side, because we jump around a lot, and I like a lot of the subject matters that, and especially in other episodes, we've jumped through a lot of cool stuff, and I've gone back to do a little more research on to look into. I was putting together a really big note that had to do with one of our subjects, dealing with
What was the subject?
it was dealing with the whole racial religion conflict and the idea of privileges in society. And this to me was like a really interesting foot in the door to talk about social engineering through idea technology that has existed way before some of our technological advances, like right now. And
Oh crap, Brave New World wasn't fiction?
yeah. But yeah, the subject matter was getting pretty intense. And actually, I referred to it as the amnesiac human race conflict, and that we may suffer from some amnesias. In fact, one of the statements I see here, it was fact versus fiction. Is history a really well-written fiction or a really poorly documented fact? Because either it's a really amazing fiction story or it's a really poorly put together fact. And we see this because of all the different changes through historical references.
Well, it's also, history is through the eyes of the recorder, right? So their biases. For a good example of this is, take your average textbook and then take of history. Let's say American history. Your average high school textbook on American history. Then you read something like The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, and then you get a closer idea of what really happened in America.
Yeah.
To the ill to many people, because they're patriotic and they've been raised to be patriotic. But the truth is, if you don't recognize where you come from and what standards are being set for you, then how are you ever going to evolve as a human being?
Knowing where you come from. And Raul, I really like, I see in some of my notes here, I mentioned a lot of economic candidacy and economic candidates. And the economy, when I'm looking at the history of something, an economist will tell me a more clear image, or a clearer image with clarity about what was happening in history than a historian. And a historian is going to induce a story, but an economist is going to begin deducing some of the economic movements between these historical stories. And when you get into the follow the money and the capital gains matter idea, you begin to kind of see a more clear picture of what people were going through, why they did what they did, what were their priorities, what fueled their motivations, fear-based or love-based. And we see a lot of fear-based motivations throughout.
And Damien, you may be a big fan of this particular economist and his journalistic partner. They put together a book series called Freakonomics, and they analyze different problems through the lens of economics. I highly recommend this stuff. It's really amazing. You find out why sumo wrestlers look the way they do. You find out whether or not criminals are educated or not educated in their thing, in what they do.
Depends on the criminal.
What?
The first book is better than the second.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's still good. Still good to check out. It's interesting. Yeah. Another guy is Malcolm Gladwell, who writes on socioeconomic phenomenon in our times, basically.
Yeah. The note when I print it, just to give you guys a quick taste on this, is kind of funny. I wrote out. It's like a little 5-chapter experience. It's called "An amnesiatic species gets something they forgot to remember back again." That's the name of this little short story. Chapter 1 is "A very torn and TiVoed imperialistic colonized industrial history." Chapter 2 is "Why Justify Modernity?" Chapter 3 is "The rabbit and the worm have a common sense of holes." And the 4th chapter is "The enigmatic nature of our nurtured speculations." And then the final chapter is "Momentum with the movement going forward." And this is like a really funny set of notes to get into, but really ending with the idea of the nurtured speculations we've made and how can we move forward from these speculations. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with writing this note out.
Wow.
That's heavy, Damien.
How
do you sleep at night?
Build it. You guys helped build this thing.
Oh, damn. Now I feel responsible for this monster.
You should. You definitely should. There's aspects, I'm even going to probably add stuff from Freakonomics.
Bless you.
Yeah, I think you would like it. I also highly recommend the Malcolm Gladwell author that I told you about before.
Okay.
He wrote on different subjects, but I think it's right in your wheelhouse.
Okay, I like sometimes I put audio books on while I'm cleaning or doing cooking projects.
Oh yeah, just practical. Yeah.
Right, I listen to 2-3 hour audio books, and I end up actually absorbing that info pretty well. I didn't really think that was effective at first, but turns out it's pretty good. I'm a very slow reader.
Well, it's like the people who listen to audio books while they're driving, like people who have long commutes and stuff.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, driving is that's a little more.
Or maybe not like driving, but taking like taking the MTA.
Okay, right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I would hazard that if I listened to too many audiobooks when I still lived in New York, it would have been a nightmare because I would have missed every stop I had to take.
Well, you try falling asleep on the Long Island Railroad and ending up at the last stop.
Yeah.
Look, considering I've seen my fellow passenger rider, I don't want to fall asleep with them. I don't know what will happen to me when I'm sleeping.
Let's put it this way. That was the last time that I ever got drunk.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's the beginning of every great story I've ever heard, Emily.
Yeah. I've ended up in the train yard 2 times now. And
I ended up in Long Beach.
Yeah, the second time they tried to tell me I was in trouble. They're like, "Oh, you're in trouble. Like, you're in the train yard. You're not supposed to be here. There's a problem." And I told them, I'm like, "Listen, man, I just woke up, and I'm pretty sure that it was your job to check the cars before you brought me into the train yard."
Oh, shit.
And we got into a pretty heated debate for a moment, and I asked him, I was like, "Well, then he's like, well, I don't know, like, what we're supposed to do." And I was like, "Well, then I guess you better go ask somebody." And I expect
you told him you better ask somebody.
Yeah, because
you brought out your inner Karen.
Well, he just thought that like it was gonna be my fault. I should be in trouble. That this is my problem.
I don't get it. Why you just couldn't ride the next train out? I mean,
Right. Well, when you're in the yard, it's a little different. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
you know, they bring the trains in to be cleaned and serviced.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, the
I
thing-
ended up there once when I fell asleep on the thing, and
Yeah,
they
it
did the
happens.
same shit to me.
Happens. Yeah, I've had a lot of train conflicts that the conductor tries to throw on me, and I've learned very quickly that now this whole, you know, stuff rolls downhill jam is actually not our
It's
problem at the bottom. It's an administrative
Right.
or an engineered failure.
Right.
And,
Mhm.
actually, Damien, I don't know how you got out of there, but they just put me on the next train, and I ended up jumping a bunch of trains to get back on the one I needed.
Yeah, no, fortunately, this
It
was
was late, though.
the Huntington yard, so
Yeah.
it was fortunate for me to be able to just get back to that platform to get back to the next transfer train. It wasn't so hard, but I pointed out to the guy that, you know, me missing this next train's cost me 2 hours of my life that I'm not going to get back. And that's okay. Like, I fell asleep. Yes, that was my responsibility, and to be transparently accountable, of course, setting an alarm is a part of this, but like, to share that accountability with you, it's your job to check these trains. Because what if I was a dangerous person? What if
Yeah.
I was a terrorist? What if I was somebody seeking to sabotage the train?
Or what
Well,
if you were just like drunk and and needed your stomach pumped?
Right, that too. I mean, there's lots of complications that extend beyond that moment. So like, yes, okay, like I fell asleep, and lucky for you, it was a good person who did the right thing. Because if I was a bad person and I thought to do bad things, you would have given me the golden ticket to do it and maybe even get away with it. And that's part of like why I say they shouldn't roll downhill, and that this was, you know, transparently
This was like administrative failure.
exactly right. And even in some cases engineered to fail, or like made to fail. How easy it is to walk the train and check the seats. I mean, it's like you had one job, dude, you know, it was it. Just walk the train, check the seats. You know, I wasn't camouflaged. I wasn't hiding in a bathroom. I was right there on
You
a
weren't
seat.
covered with a blanket.
You were hiding in plain sight.
Right. Yeah. I guess it looked like I belonged there maybe if he did check. I don't know because I was asleep. But, you know, I'm sure they could refer to cameras. I'm sure they could refer to the situation should it have come to something further. But he started off very aggressive with me. And it took a
Right.
little of that conversational jujitsu to kind of say, you know, wait a second now. I think that, you know, what
Well,
you're
it's
trying to
important.
put on me is also a part of what you're doing too.
Yeah.
You sure you didn't take a power project pill that gave you invisibility?
I was about to say that.
Yeah, right.
I was
Yeah,
about to say that.
no pills. Yeah, all straight organic material, all right out of the ground, nature. Nothing manufactured here.
I once ended up, when I was drunk, at Parsons Boulevard. Or was
Oh,
it
God.
Parsons? No, it's the one after, the last stop on the J. Which one is that? Your
That's
Sutton?
Parsons.
Oh, it is Parsons, yeah.
That's
And
where
this
I get
was,
off to go to work.
And this is like years ago. So it was, I don't know what the state is now, but it's like a leper colony out there. It's kind of like the same as Port Authority. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Port Authority, but it's just not the best area. It was late. I was drunk. I'm a female. I was just scared for my fucking life as I'm waiting for the next train to get the hell out of there. And I don't even, like, I didn't grow up far from that area, but, like, holy shit.
But I could see that. I could see like being a little like sketched out because
Oh my God,
there's
yes.
like sketchy people in that train station during the daytime.
Exactly.
Like
This
when
was,
I
like,
go to
late
work.
at night, and I was drunk. Not like stumbling drunk, but still like impaired.
Like
And it
out
was,
of it drunk.
yeah, and like it was, I was easily like standing on a platform with just one other person, and that one other person could have easily like done something to me. And I've definitely had like homeless people say some nasty things to me when I was like just me and them on a platform. Like I don't want to be in a situation.
No,
like that.
exactly.
It's
I
very scary.
then I don't blame you. That I would be freaked out too.
I had a
In
homeless
fact-
person tell me how big his dick was. Ugh. And like motioned and like, ugh. Why are
Jesus.
men so gross? Ugh.
No, but that's why. But no, that's exactly why I took that. That is actually why I ended up at the wrong end of the Long Island Railroad. Indirectly has to do with that station because
Uh-huh.
I had gone out to the bar with my coworkers
Mm-hmm.
and basically ended up staying there for about 3 hours later than I intended to,
Mhm.
and was like drunker than I had been in like a long time. And I got on the, so I decided I was going to take the Long Island Railroad because I'm like, well, you know, I'm still out in Jamaica. Like, we went after work, like,
Mhm.
in the neighborhood. Like, I don't know if I want to wait at this, like, E and J train station, like at this hour.
Uh-huh.
Let me just take the Long Island Railroad. So I got on it. It came to Penn Station, but somewhere in between, like, Jamaica and Penn Station, I just passed out drunk and went to Penn Station, stood on the train when it turned back around and went all the way out to Long Beach and
Oh
didn't
my god.
get
Oh,
back
wow.
up. And so by now it's like like literally it's like 12 or 1 in the morning, and there's no train going back into the city forever. And here I am on Long Island when I live in Harlem. And I ended up taking an Uber all the way back from Long Beach to Harlem.
Shut the fuck up. Why didn't you just take an Uber to like the next MTA station so you wouldn't have to spend what, $1,000 to get back home? How much was it, Emily? Like 300?
No, it was less than 100.
200? It was
No,
less
it was
than
less
100.
than 100.
Yeah, Uber cuts a lot of corners.
That's impressive.
speaking,
Wait, from
yeah.
where to where?
From
From
Long
Long
Beach
Beach.
on Long Island to my building in Harlem.
Struggling.
Yeah.
That's shocking that it was under 100. Maybe it wasn't peak hours.
Oh, it wasn't. It was midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After midnight.
Damn. You know what? At least you were able to get home. You didn't have to
I
like
was
take
glad
the
I was
train.
able to get home and
And you were
mean-
drunk, so he might have gave you a better rate.
well, I don't think he would have given me a better rate if I had thrown up in his car, which thank God didn't happen.
Thank God.
Don't they usually have a fine if you throw up?
Yeah. Well, there's a
Yeah, they
cleanup
do.
fund. Yeah.
Oh my god, I've thrown up in a car before.
But anyways, passing out drunk to the point where I end up completely knocked out all the way to the end of the Long Island Railroad is kind of got me thinking that maybe I needed to rethink my priorities.
Yeah.
How much had you had to drink?
You know, that I think that was the problem. I think I must have had like 9 or 10, like 8 or 9 or 10 drinks in the night.
That's a lot of drinks.
That is a lot, yeah.
Oh my god, I would have been dead.
In
But it
Spanish,
was-
we call that mucho.
It was
Yeah.
over the period of like 8 hours though.
8 hours at a happy hour? Holy shit, Emily.
It took
It was
I
certainly
just
a happy
kept
hour.
talking. Like, we just kept
That's
talking.
like an entire work day. You just spent drinking.
I mean,
Like
it's a big industry.
Like I said, that's why I had to reevaluate my life. No,
That's
but we
crazy.
went there. We went there after work one day, and I was just talking and chatting with my coworkers, and like after work was like maybe like 5 p.m. So maybe it wasn't like a full 8 hours, but we were definitely there from like 5 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Mm.
But
You must like these coworkers.
I have good coworkers.
7 hours? I couldn't.
And we just, but after that, I kind of decided, I think that was the very last time I ever got drunk because I think I decided like I needed to reevaluate my life's priorities.
How long
Mm.
ago was that?
Less
month.
than no,
Kidding, I'm kidding, Emily. I'm kidding.
none. Bars aren't open here.
Less
Due to
than a
COVID.
year ago?
It
Emily,
was less
you don't
than,
have to. You don't have to disclose the time. You don't have to.
No,
you don't
it
have to say
was less than a year ago, though. It was like last November.
Wow. I'm glad the days of me getting trashed are over. And even if I were to get trashed, like, thankfully, like, I'm able to afford taking a cab home instead of having to take the train. But I don't want to have to be on the train super drunk at night.
Well, I mean, it
Someone
was
could just, like, kill me or something.
it was not like I would say it was not something that I commonly was still doing
Yeah.
by that point. Like I haven't really been like purposefully getting drunk for like a couple years now.
Mhm.
But I think because I hadn't been really drinking like that, it kind of like the evening kind of got away from me, shall we nicely put it.
Mhm. I've had a cop ask me if I needed help because I was so freaking drunk, just
Oh,
sitting at a
jeez.
train station, and I said no, and they left me alone. But that was very nice of them.
Man,
Yeah,
I
it
feel,
was.
Depending, I mean, assuming they had good intentions, they could have like, been like, "Can I help you?" Wink, wink.
I feel so bad because I feel like I contributed to like to your penchant for drunkenness.
No, no way.
But didn't you learn to drink from my perk?
Learn to drink.
Yeah, seriously.
The learned behavior. It's
It
engineered.
doesn't take much to. I've been drinking since I was a baby. Just turned to alcohol.
I was gonna say I thought we were the bad influence.
Hardly.
That's how I feel about Julian, because I was truly the one that got him drink. And got him drunk, and now he drinks all the time. I'm like, Julian, what's wrong with you?
You know, I remember the first time I heard him curse.
When did he curse?
When he was drunk.
Exactly.
Oh my god. It's crazy to think he doesn't. He's such a good boy.
Yeah.
Such a good boy. I think now that he's with Danny, he probably is not going out.
We're
as
still
much as he is.
recording, so we probably should not be
Oh,
talking
sorry.
about his.
I mean, that's not her name. Now that he's with somebody
Or
else.
his. Or his. It's not his name either.
Yeah.
We used
Asterisk.
synonyms.
Let's
We
call
used
them A and B. Now that A is with B, I think that she has mellowed him out, maybe. At least that's what it seems like the last time I saw
Yeah, it does kind of seem like that.
him. I'm glad. I'm glad it worked out for them.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
nice- It's nice to start dating someone that you like.
As
can't
opposed
imagine
to
what that
someone
feels
you
like.
don't like.
I can tell that Cynthia has been to the rough school of dating that I have been.
No, I'm saying like he.
You know,
said
I
that
really
he had a
fucking
crush
hate
on-
you, but I have nothing else to do tonight, so.
No. No, I'm just saying Julian expressed that he had a crush on her for a while, and then
Yeah, for years.
yeah, and then at my party,
Aw, that's
yeah,
cute.
they hooked up. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. So to finally be able to know that somebody that you like likes you back, it's like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yes.
I wonder what.
I've
that
only
felt
seen that in movies.
like. For real.
As opposed to just hooking up with somebody because no better option is currently presenting itself.
I think that rarely happens for me. I think.
I'm joking.
So what you're saying is that you have standards that your biological urges do not overtake your standards.
Oh,
No.
I like this is a
Thankfully
good
not.
subject matter. When we're talking about philosophy of relations, how we relate to each other, the circumstances that we meet. I like Raul's comment previously about that his like dating life was like a conspiracy.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a
like
conspiracy with no good punchline.
Aww.
Right. Well, you say it's a tragedy, which is really just a comedy.
That's it. You know me. I don't even have to write it. That's perfectly obvious.
Raul, why is it a tragedy? How can we help?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's
First,
like
I
an
should.
Shyamalan movie. With a
Yeah,
surprise
basically,
ending.
it's like a good version of that or a bad version of it. I'm not sure.
Hmm. I mean,
But anyway,
a lot of it.
listen, guys, I have to go. Not because of this comment, but because.
It's
but
dinner time.
I have to go. You guys take care.
Okay.
All
Good
right.
night, Raul. Great talking
Good
to you.
night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Oh, I wanted to hear about his dating life.
Next time,
Do,
Cynthia. Next
maybe a
time.
cast that starts off on that, and I'd love to participate with some examples going through the philosophy of relationships, something that I've had a lot of experience in personal studies in different philosophies, dealing with casual philosophy, monotonous philosophy, open philosophy, and multiplicitous philosophy. And there's a really interesting story that Saint Valentine kind of tells a little bit, and 6 archetypes of love that can kind of help people create their own experience and their own philosophy where they can kind of find themselves more easily in relations or how they relate to not just other people, but even extending it a little further into other aspects of life. Relations are very important. It tells you a lot about the developments of humanity when we look at how humans relate to not just other humans, but also to something like nature, or how humans relate to the marketplace, or how humans relate to technology. How we relate ends up being one of these consistent messages through all these different subjects.
Oh man. So this just occurred to me, like, this has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, but I thought of it earlier. So when I was out walking earlier today on 125th Street, some guy came, like, I felt so bad. Like, there was like how like homeless people like sometimes come up and start talking to you and like they're not all mentally there.
Mm-hmm.
I had this guy come up to me like while I was walking down 125th Street, like minding my business, whatever, and listening to music. Like, this guy comes up to me and like he's not wearing a mask and he like holds out his hand to like shake my hand and say nice to meet you. And I mean, like, and I kind of like had to like angle my body away so I could very clearly give the hints that no, sir, I am not shaking your hand in the time of COVID. But I was just like, in my mind, I'm thinking, dude, there's an effing pandemic going on. Like, what are you doing here? Like,
Crazy.
why are we doing this?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you
I didn't say it, but I'm thinking, like, guys, what are we doing here?
I mean, that's like really beautiful in the subject of relations and how we relate to each other. I mean, right there, you just like pointed out like this really curious moment in human interaction. A homeless person who seems mentally unstable, perhaps even appears to be a little unhygienic, is going to create this urge of repulsion.
He wasn't unhygienic, though. Like, I wouldn't, like, I mean, I don't know if I would, like...
Well, no mask, epidemic. I mean, a lot of these
That's
things...
what I think, like,
right.
What I'm saying is, under normal circumstances, he wouldn't have looked unhygienic to me. Like, it wasn't like he smelled or anything.
Right.
But under pandemic circumstances, like, just not wearing a mask is unhygienic.
But you knew he was homeless?
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. That was an assumption. He seems like kind of a drifter, but you're right. That's an assumption.
Oh, I don't know. I was just curious. Yeah. I didn't know whether or not he was. I mean, you said he was, so I was just wondering why you thought that. If there was something.
Well, I mean, I did think that just because, like, I don't know, like he did come across to me, as kind of like the grifter type,
Oh, okay.
but like I might be
Well, also
wrong.
because he was also no, but also because he was, but he was like a lot of people on the subway.
No, this wasn't on the
Well,
subway.
usually
This
not
was on
into-
the street.
Oh, on the street. Sorry, on the street.
He just tried to shake your hand.
Like, yeah, he just randomly walked up to me and like said, "Hello, nice to meet you," and like extended his hand.
That's
And,
fucking
like,
weird.
I know it, and I feel like that if like
Frequently
were-
with mental illness, yeah, there's like this, there's like a correlation in our brains frequently. Like if like maybe if a guy is homeless, if he's acting like weird or not the way most people act, I guess. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Emily.
No, but no, you're right. No, but what I was gonna say is like if like pre-COVID, I probably would have like just humored the guy and shook his hand and then slathered my hands with hand sanitizer.
Why would you shake a stranger's hand?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know
What
that
the
I would
fuck?
have.
I would just like swerve around him and walk away.
Yeah, I
would
don't
just
know that
ever
I
talk to
would.
a stranger on the street.
Sometimes too, just asserting a verbal boundary, saying, "I'm not interested
Excuse
in
me.
shaking your hand. Is there something you need help with? Do you need me to point you in the direction of some assistance?" I've
That's
actually
a good
had some
point.
interactions like that, where truly the person did need help, and they were trying to open up a conversation by like throwing their hand out. And I'd say to them, I don't feel comfortable shaking hand, but do you need help with something right now? And them ending up needing some kind of service or help I couldn't provide them, I would say simply that I was unable to provide the help. Do you need me to make a phone call for you? And then in some cases they'll say, well, can I use your phone? And I say, no, I don't feel comfortable with you using my phone, but if you have a number or if you have a service you want me to look up for you, I can use my phone to help you. And these weird complicated moments, especially when I started living in the city early on, I really wanted to help and participate in people's lives if they needed help. But a lot of these people ended up kind of goading me along, kind of dragging me along.
That's true.
Way. And it felt very manipulative at a certain point. Now I have some defense mechanisms that are up a little more.
That's why
But
you ignore them.
What's that?
That's why you ignore them.
Well, see, it's hard for me to embrace ignorance, as it were. I feel that there is no real ignorance. There's just a lack of knowledge or a lack of understanding. And
Well, that's what ignorance is.
Right, but there's a whole concept where like an understanding or the sharing of knowledge could end up resolving some great human conflicts and some great human suffering. In fact, in some cases, there's people that I've met that did truly need help or service that were not from the US, that were traveling, they got robbed.
Oh, like they were tourists who got.
Correct. And they didn't really know how to ask for help. So they attempted
That's true.
they attempted to like, shake my hand, introduce themselves. I just cut to the chase. I just said, if there's
What do you
something
need?
if there's something I could do for you, if there's a service you need, and they explained, well, I was just robbed. I don't have any money. I don't have any help. I need someone's help. And the one guy in particular that approached me needing help, I simply just got an officer to help him. And he didn't understand that he could just ask the nearby officer to help him sort these problems out. And even I specifically requested the officer, said, I feel for this man. I feel like something, a great wrong has been done to him. If you could help point him in the direction of some social services to maybe help him make a phone call he needs to make to wire money or something. And I don't know exactly how that ended because I had trains to catch. I was busy.
You had places to go.